I genuinely could not be more excited to hop into this 2022 fantasy football draft. We just pulled the 102. In my opinion, if you were drafting at either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as long as you had a top 5 pick this year, you are going to be significantly better off in your draft. And we've had a couple drafts from the very beginning over the past 2 days where we've been able to create absolute monsters. I don't know why, but I have noticed a trend that you're getting guys like Kyler Murray falling to you at the end of the 6th round now. I've been able to pull some Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins teams here from the very beginning as of late. So draft boards are definitely changing with training camp news. Going to be excited to get to some updated Real Money 2022 fantasy football drafts. But real quick, if you are, for whatever reason, missing this live stream, you're having to watch this as a video later on. We do these Real Money fantasy football drafts every single night. I'm trying to draft with as many of y'all as I can. So make sure you go down there, of course, drop that like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to get notified when we're live so you can come out and draft with us. But now the team at the 101 is officially on the clock. And it used to be a lock, Jonathan Taylor, but now I've seen more and more teams taking Christian McCaffrey at 1, which this team just does. So I'm going to thank them. Thank you so much, Mr. AJW14. Let me get Jonathan Taylor at pick 2. That's going to be a no-brainer. A player that, in my opinion, has one of the highest floors in fantasy football. Definitely the highest floor of any running back in fantasy football, as well as an elite level ceiling. Imagine if something were to occur to Nyheim Hines and then those 3.5, 4 targets a game that Hines soaks up every single week is going over in the direction of Jonathan Taylor. But this is going to be very exciting. Okay, so let me give a shout out to everybody out here in the chat. We got Walter, Derek, Ed, Shark Boy, Brett, Fallony, Steve Lombard. We have so many regulars out in the stream right now. Of course, thank y'all so much. You know how much I appreciate all of y'all. And now we have Austin Eckler going at 5. That is a little bit different than what you're going to see in these drafts where you have to start 3 wide receivers. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get Jamar Chase there, in my opinion. It should be Jamar Chase in that range. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that we need to say it's a bad pick because, come on, it's Austin Eckler. He was the running back 3 on a points per game basis last year. This is a running back that is playing in an elite level offense. This is a running back that is a very strong pass catcher as well. Derek says, Mason, is this a puppy? Yes, this is going to be a $5 puppy draft, but if y'all want, we may fire up a $250 draft after this. We may fire up a $250 draft. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Of course, if you want to see that, make sure you drop a like on the live stream. If we have a ton of people out here, maybe I'll feel like we can burn $250 because I will say on Underdog in those $250 drafts, they have to be the sharpest drafters on the planet. Like if I'm going to be completely honest, because that's how you can get the most money down with as little time commitment as possible as those $250 drafts on Underdog. So if we're just talking about the strength of the player pool in that lobby, that $250 lobby on Underdog is going to be full of sharks, full of people that are way better drafters than I am. So if we're entering in that draft, we have no edge whatsoever. Like I want to believe that I have an edge in these $5 drafts, that I have the edge in the $25 drafts. But those $250 drafts, guys, those guys, they're the real men of fantasy football. They are the real crushers. I'm just a small boy out here. But let's see this. We have Leonard Fournette going 18, Alvin Kamara 19. Alvin Kamara has been sliding up further and further and further with draft boards. Obviously, not nearly as many people are worried about the suspension. We'll see. We'll see. Now we have Aaron Jones going at 20. I would have been very excited if we had Aaron Jones making it back to us, but it is what it is. Mike Evans goes 21. So it looks like we're going to be looking at a very standard turn. Hopefully we get Mark Andrews. If we get Mark Andrews, I'll be over the moon. If we don't, we're going to have to suck it up, take Tyreek Hill, just because you have to start 3 wide receivers in this format. So those receivers are going to naturally slide up draft boards. Yeah, so Andrews goes. It's not a very exciting draft pick. We will go ahead. We will take Tyreek Hill here at pick 23. And then on the way back around, I am probably going to look to go with the Mr. Nick Chubb. I think that's the plan as it stands. I'm imagining that this team, I'm going to take a guess. T. Higgins, okay. I swear to God that was going to be my guess. I swear to God. And if you're going to look at my rankings, here I would rank Nick Chubb higher than Javonte Williams. But if we're talking about creating a unique construction, I think that Javonte Williams is going to give us a unique trio between Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, and Javonte. If we just look at the combinations of those players in this large field tournament, I think that combo is going to be significantly fewer than what you're going to have with Nick Chubb here in the third round, just because Javonte, in the majority of these underdog drafts, he is going in the second. So despite my rankings having Nick Chubb higher, for that reason, I am going to go Javonte Williams here at pick 26. But if you are confused on why I'm talking about the tournament structure, let me explain to you this real quick. We're drafting on Underdog. On Underdog, you can get in regular drafts or you can get in these tournament drafts. So this is going to be a 12-team league where first place gets paid, second place gets paid, and a small percentage of every single league pot is set aside for the massive fantasy football tournament, weeks 15, 16, and 17, where you are invited if you get first or second place in your 12-team league. And that's where there's some serious money up for grabs. Like, this is a $5 buy-in that I'm doing on Underdog right now. It's $1 million prize pool, $200,000 to first place. So you do have to think with some of those small nuances when you are constructing your team here. And of course, if you want to go draft on Underdog Fantasy, get in a regular fantasy football draft, or go get in a tournament draft, we do these live streams every single night on Underdog because it's so much fun. Go to the link in the live chat. Go to the link in the description of the video. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, and you'll have some fun on the live streams with us. But after we take Javonte, I mean, Nick Chubb goes directly after. That's not going to be a surprise. Jalen Waddle at 29 is going to be a little rich. Like, Jalen Waddle, the majority of these drafts is falling to the beginning of the fourth round. And trust me, guys, I am taking a crap ton of Jalen Waddle. Like, if you're looking at my rankings, I don't necessarily have Michael Pittman, have Courtland Sutton, have Mike Williams, like those guys over Jalen Waddle, if I'm going to be completely honest. That's why I've drafted so much Jalen Waddle, because I think this is about the range where you should probably be going if you compare him to the other wide receivers. And in reality, he never goes here. Okay. Alexi says, in your opinion, what is the key to a successful draft? In my opinion, I think if you're going through, if you're looking at past finishes and what worked last year and trying to copy that one for one this season, you are going to fail. So I've heard a lot of analysis saying, oh, double hero running back's the way to go. What you need to do is you need to take your running back in round one, running back in round two, and then go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver in the middle rounds. And I agree. If we look back at last year, that's what worked, because just think about it. You had Jonathan Taylor going from the beginning of the second round. You had Austin Eckler at the 1-2 turn as well. And then where did you get those league-winning wide receivers from? You had a Cooper Kupp from the 3-4 turn. And if we're looking at, say, some other running backs in the second round versus wide receivers, other running backs in the second round were guys like Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, those players that did go out there and crush. And the wide receivers in the second round were guys like DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, and they did not pan out. But just because we can look at that large data set from that one example of last year, and we can come away with the conclusion that, hell, last year you should have taken 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, and then you should have slammed wide receivers in the middle rounds. The data represents that. Of course the data represents that. We just walked through where Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler came from. Yeah, I mean, if you got Jonathan Taylor on your team, you won fantasy football drafts. No crap. Now, does that mean that one of these running backs at the beginning of the second round is Jonathan Taylor this year? No, it does not necessarily mean that. So what I would say is, don't necessarily just chase what worked last year. I think that we have to be continuously updating to the draft board in the texture that you have, making it back to you. So like here at the turn, if we look at what worked last year at the beginning of the 5th, the end of the 4th round, was going and taking wide receiver. But if we're looking at this player pool that we have access to, do I want to believe that wide receiver is the best way to go? Should I believe that taking Gabriel Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Brandon Cooks is a better option than an elite level tight end or an elite level quarterback? In my opinion, no. I think it's going to be advantageous to go with the tight end. I think it's going to be advantageous to go with a QB here. So we're going to take Darren Waller, pick 47, and then we're going to get whoever he leaves between Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes, just because win rates last season dictated that you wanted to go wide receiver at this point. You can't just copy and paste what worked last year and think it's going to work this season. It's a completely different player pool. It's a completely different texture of the draft board. So let's go through and check this out. Freddie says, how much do I need to deposit in Underdog to cover draft with you? I'm 71 drafts in on Puppy 3 so far, but I want to draft with you. Okay, I don't exactly know what you're asking, my man. I'll say, if you want to get in a draft with us, you only need $5 in your account. Now, it may be difficult while we're hopping into these puppy drafts just because they fill so quickly, but once the puppy ends, then we are also going to be firing up private drafts. We'll all send that private draft link out for everybody in the live chat, and you'll just have to click on that. So don't think, oh, I need to deposit $100 in my account to draft with Mason on Underdog. Fire you a draft, deposit $10 into your account. See if you like it. They'll match it dollar for dollar up to $10. I mean, up to $100. So if you deposit 10, you'll have 20 in your account. And then beyond that, hell, at the same time, you are going to get our 2022 rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide. We do drafts as cheap as $5. You need $5 into your account to get in drafts with us. Okay. So now we have Justin Herbert pick 50. Yeah, I understand. We don't have Mike Williams. We don't have Keenan Allen. We don't have Austin Eckler. Very rarely are you going to see a team taking Justin Herbert without that combo. But at the same time, I'm sorry, guys. I know wide receivers are king. Trust me, I get it. If you look at historical win rates, you want to take a wide receiver in rounds 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't give a damn. We're getting Justin Herbert, someone who could potentially be the quarterback 1 in fantasy this season at pick 50. Am I really supposed to take Brandon Cooks over Justin Herbert? Am I really supposed to make that decision? I don't think so. Now, Chris Godwin goes 57. Rashad Bateman goes 56. Michael Thomas, 58. And we definitely need wide receivers making it back to us. Like, I don't want to act like, oh, no, I'm never drafting a wide receiver. We need wide receivers making it back, but I do really like the wide receiver value that you'll have at the 6-7 turn in a lot of these drafts. Now we have Russell Wilson off the board, pick 59. That is very intriguing. I don't know if I've seen Russell Wilson, like out of the 500 drafts I've done, go before Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. And at the same time, you have no Tim Patrick. I feel like Russell Wilson's probably in a worse situation, but this team goes ahead and they take Allen Lazard as well. Dear God. Would you rather have the combination of DK Metcalf and Jalen Hurts or the combination of Russell Wilson and Allen Lazard? Dear freaking God. Okay, I see someone spamming the chat over and over again. Guys, please don't spam in the chat. If you do it, all you're doing is ruining the chat for everybody else. I try to read the chat as much as possible. Sometimes it's going to be hard. I really do want to look at this draft board as well. I'm going to try to go back and forth. I'll be live for like 4 hours, okay? We're going to be live for an extremely long time tonight. So please do not spam the chat over and over again unless you're trying to get muted. Okay. Elijah Moore goes 65. GA says, what if Allen Lazard is the guy you need this year? LOL. If Allen Lazard is the guy you need to win fantasy football drafts this year, hell, I'm just going to have to lose fantasy football drafts this year. I've been doing it all my life. I've gotten good at it at this point. Maybe this is how I lose in fantasy this season. We don't take Allen Lazard before guys like Jalen Hurts, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, Elijah Mitchell, Adam Thielen, Darnell Mooney, A.J. Dillon, Amari Cooper, Josh Jacobs, Drake London. I could keep on going, okay? Now, at this point, I don't want to queue up exactly what we are looking at just because I am afraid that there may be some people watching this live stream that are in this draft with us. A.J. Dillon goes pick 69. Drake London off the board. We have to take Amari Cooper here. We have no option. We need a wide receiver. We're going to go Amari Cooper. I like the idea of betting on Amari Cooper in a tournament structured draft because you could see the elite spike weeks 15, 16, 17. If we get if we get Deshaun Watson playing with the Cleveland Browns at that time. I don't love Amari Cooper here if you're talking about just a regular standard redraft league. Lansco 72. AJW has a very interesting approach. I don't love their team. I really don't. I mean, I just don't get why you're taking Juju Smith-Schuster there at the 4-5 turn if you're not following it up with the Patrick Mahomes. And here, I understand I'm probably the fish in the room. I'm probably missing something. I am probably the idiot here. But I was drafting Josh Jacobs earlier this offseason at the beginning of the 6th, and I need to take my L. Clearly, he has fallen in ADP. Clearly, he has fallen a considerable amount. I was an idiot to be taking him at the beginning of the 6th round. I guess we shouldn't have done it, and we should have just waited until he's fallen to being a 7th round pick. But if I was fine drafting him at the beginning of the 6th, I'm going to be taking him at the beginning of the 7th. Best Ball Modern says, Mason, how do you handle players that have drastically risen since the tournament opened? Do you fade them? Yes, I would say you probably do need to fade them. Like Ramondre Stevenson's probably not someone you want to be taking in Best Ball Mania. That's why I maxed out Best Ball Mania, like even before the Deshaun Watson news. I maxed out Best Ball Mania a long time ago. Like in the Puppy 3, you don't have to be worried about these players rising up ADP because how long has this been open? A week? Henry says, is anyone worried about Darren Waller not practicing since July 30th? We didn't have Darren Waller practicing last offseason either, and Darren Waller ended up being just fine. Gucci Mane says, are you a trout, Mason? I'm definitely a fish. I don't know what kind of fish I am. Maybe I'm a nice salmon. I don't know. I'm the fish in this draft room. Actually, maybe not in the $5 draft rooms. If we get a party going here tonight and we fire up a $250 big dog draft, I'll tell you, I'll definitely be the fish in that draft room. I'll be the fish. People will be licking their chops to see me go in there, and they'll be ready to take my $250. I don't know if we're the fish in this room in particular, though. Okay, so now we have Devonta Smith and DeAndre Hopkins making it down here to pick 80 and 81. Personally, I love this value. Like, if I didn't take Josh Jacobs at 74, I would have taken either one of those wide receivers. I probably would have ended up with Hopkins, but if it was just a regular 12-team redraft format, I probably would have gone with a Devonta Smith over DeAndre Hopkins, unless you can throw Hopkins on the IR. I know some casual redraft leagues, you're allowed to be very, very flexible with your IR slots. But that team that decided to take Allen Lazard, pick 62, goes ahead. They draft Ramondre Stevenson at pick 83. Dear God. Angelo says, how many likes for the $250 draft? I don't want to set a specific number. Let's run through this draft. Just run those likes up. And if the mood is right, if we join that $250 draft and the draft room's about to be filled and we don't have to sit there and wait 10 minutes for it to fill, then we'll do a $250 draft after this. Okay. So let me scroll up, show this entire draft board for anybody just now coming in. So at quarterback, we have the elite level guy in Justin Herbert. We're definitely going to need to be targeting an Isaiah Spiller, a Joshua Palmer, a Gerald Everett a little bit later on. At tight end, we have the elite level player in Darren Waller. At running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs. And at wide receiver, we have the combination of Tyreek Hill and Amari Cooper. So let's go through and let's see what happens after this. We have some wide receivers off the board. Yeah, that team taking Russell Gage as well. So we need to be thanking them because they go through, they take two players here that I personally wouldn't have been interested in. I'm not interested in Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not interested in Russell Gage. So get these guys off the board, push two guys down that possibly I actually want to take at the 8-9 turn, whether that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Dak Prescott, Chris Olave, TJ Hawkinson. Hell, give me any of these guys and I'll be fine with it. Caden says, Mason, how do you feel about DeAndre Carter in the last round? Reports are he is playing over Jalen Guyton. Thank you, Phil, for filling me in on that regarding Jalen Guyton. I did not know. I would say with Carter, he doesn't seem like the profile of a player that would take over Guyton. Like, let me look this up to make sure I'm not misremembering this. Yeah, but here with DeAndre Carter, he's not necessarily a field-stretching wide receiver. College yards per reception, 13.3. 40-yard dash, 4.49. Yards per reception last year in the NFL, 12.3. Like, that wouldn't make sense for me because the role that Jalen Guyton plays in Los Angeles is Guyton's just the wind sprinter. Guyton's out there just stretching the field and drawing defensive attention away. So I don't see why Carter would be playing over him. I don't know, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. Maybe we don't look to take Guyton in the last round if we whiff on everyone else. Let's sit here and let's think for a second. Okay, so Hawkinson, Sky Moore, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I would have loved to get CEH or Hawkinson here. Robert Woods off the board. This team between us. I'm going to take Edmonds. I think that Chase Edmonds is in his own tier here. Now, once we take Edmonds, we cannot take another running back. Even if I love Kareem Hunt at this value, I can't take him. We have to go wide receiver. We're done at running back for the time being. Maybe we grab a running back in the very last round. A ton of people would tell us we're already too aggressive with the running backs that we have. But I like the idea of taking Edmonds. A, I like the value in general. B, I like the idea of pairing him up with Tyreek Hill and then taking a Tua Tagovailoa a little bit later on. But now this team decides to take Marquez Valdes-Scantling as their sixth wide receiver, going with a true hero running back build here. They have Lance CMC, and then at receiver, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, Gabriel Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Brandon Cooks, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Now, Dallas Goedert off the board as well. We have to go through. We have to take a wide receiver. It doesn't matter if I think Kareem Hunt is a significantly better pick. If this was a league where we had access to the waiver wire, if we were able to go through and change the construction of our roster as the season went through, I wouldn't be as worried about drafting for positional need. But because it's best ball, we have to lock in our wide receiver. We have to take Tyler Lockett. And let's reevaluate our pick there with Jacobs. Because if we would not have taken Josh Jacobs in the 7th, and instead we would have taken DeAndre Hopkins, we could have taken the value with Kareem Hunt there, pick 98. He goes at 99. Would y'all rather have the combination of Amari Cooper and, of Josh Jacobs and Tyler Lockett, or the combination of DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt? Please let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Okay, so we really want running backs off the board at this point. Like, we are desperate to have some wide receiver value making it to us in the way back around. Like, our core of wide receivers here is weak to say the least. I mean, we have probably the best running back core in the league. We have Justin Herbert. We have Darren Waller. Very strong there. Dear God, guys, wide receiver is going to be pretty damn tough. Okay, so it looks like Insane Epic says Hopkins and Hunt. We have Big Tiller says Jacobs and Lockett. Then we have another vote for Hopkins and Hunt. Okay. I think we probably should have gone Hopkins Hunt. I think y'all are right with that. But afterwards, we have Damian Harris 103. James Cook goes at 104. Garrett Wilson 105. Garrett Wilson was a player that I actually had. I think fell to us at exactly 119 earlier today. Let me pull it up because it was the draft that I did right before we went live. I did this draft just a couple hours ago. And we got some crazy value on rookie wide receivers. Like, it was to a point where I had to cut myself off of just continuing to draft rookie wide receivers. We had taken so many in this particular draft. Like, we went through and we took Treylon Burks at pick 94. We got Garrett Wilson at pick 123. So never mind. We took Garrett Wilson at the 1103. I'm fine with this value at 105 there. Like, I think that's a good pick with Garrett Wilson. But we were able to get that insane value. Then we ended up following it up with Jahan Dotson 142 and Jameson Williams 171. Like, I don't know how that team gets there, but dear God, if we have just one of those players turning into Jalen Waddle his rookie season, I don't want to bring up a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson because obviously those are extreme outliers. Freedme says, I like the value on Tyler Lockett. Yeah, of course, Lockett is in like the worst position you could ever imagine him to be in Seattle right now with how bad this offense should be. But he had 2.5 yards per route run last year. He was a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL in yards per route run. Derek Carr goes at 111. We would have taken Derek Carr if he would have made it back to us at pick 119. We would have stacked him up with Darren Waller, but it is what it is. Now that's no longer going to be in play. And dear God, ladies and gentlemen, we really need to hope that some of these running backs go off the board. Cordell Patterson, 112. I think I know what we're going to do on the way back around, and I think people aren't going to like it, but it is what it is. We have no option. Marker Word says 2,000 likes for Mason to sing the Barney theme song live tonight. If we got 2,000 likes in the live stream, y'all could pick whatever song you wanted me to sing and I'll sing it. If we hit 2,000 likes in the live stream, I will sing whatever the hell y'all want me to. And I'll say it. You don't want to hear me sing. It will be about the grossest thing you've ever heard, but 2,000 likes will do practically anything. Okay, so Cole Kmet goes 115. Interesting to see Kmet go with this early. What's up with Cole Kmet 115 here? That team has 2 elite level quarterbacks with Allen and Brady. They take Kmet to pair up with Kittle. Very interesting there. Sean says, be right back. Gonna go make 2,000 accounts. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. There's no way we're getting to 2,000 likes tonight. Like, that's legitimately impossible. Okay, so Kirk Cousins goes 117. And for the love of God, do not start logging into different accounts and liking this live stream because YouTube will shut me down. Like, that will be flagged as bots or something. For the love of God, do not do that. Let's think through this. The team after us, they can't take a wide receiver. I mean, maybe they do. Very rarely are you going to get Zach Ertz falling this far. I don't love the value with Zach Ertz, but based on how the other drafter pushed up Cole Kmet at pick 115, maybe there's an outside chance that he just goes crazy. He doesn't have a little experience badge next to his name. Maybe he just goes through and he starts stacking these tight ends on each other. Let's get a player that very rarely are you going to see him fall at this price. And this team does go with another receiver. They take a Rondale Moore here. What the hell are you doing taking Rondale Moore here? And I know that, yes, we are reaching a significant amount. I'm not a massive fan of reaching on players, but it is what it is. What's the... Okay, never mind. I was going to say that out loud, but that was just going to embarrass myself. I was going to say, what's the real difference between Joshua Palmer and Julio Jones? Oh, there's a pretty big difference between those two guys. But when we take Justin Herbert at pick 50, and we don't have any of those other Los Angeles Chargers pass catchers, we are betting that this Los Angeles Chargers offense is going to be significantly better than expected. So we almost have to go through and have to take Joshua Palmer. Okay. Daniel says, sup, Mason, it's that time of the year again. Yes, sir. The best time of the year. Best time of the year. Okay, so we have Julio Jones going 124, Isaiah Spiller 123. Yeah, those were players sitting at the very top of ADP. I mean, before we had Zach Ertz falling to us at 119, and I thought it would be a unique combo, and we kind of had to take it. I was thinking we were actually going to come away with Isaiah Spiller and Joshua Palmer at the turn. The issue is we've already gone so running back heavy with this build. Like, we've gone so running back heavy that I feel like we can't do that. Like, so far at the running back position, we have Taylor, Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, and Chase Edmonds. So I felt like it would have been very difficult for us to sell that. Now, at wide receiver, we're piecing it together. We got Tyreek, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Joshua Palmer. At the tight end, we have, I think, probably the best tight end core in the league. We have Darren Waller and Zach Ertz. We have Justin Herbert at quarterback. But let's go through. Let's check out some of the crazy teams that we saw from earlier this draft. I think the first crazy team that we need to be pointing out is going to be that team, I believe, that took Russell Wilson, pick 59. Yeah, so the team at the 111. If y'all want to look at that, they go Lamb in the first, Mixon in the second. That's standard at this point. DJ Moore in the third. I love that value that you're getting with DJ Moore. But instead of maybe going with the James Conner in the fourth, they decide to take Jerry Jeudy. Maybe this is Jerry Jeudy's mom. Maybe this is Jerry Jeudy's brother. I don't know. Then they go Russell Wilson, pick 59 to get that stack with Jerry Jeudy. So maybe actually this is Russell Wilson's mom. And then they go Allen Lazard, pick 62. Ramondre Stevenson, 83. Russell Gage, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Tolbert, Albert O. Okay, so it's good for us to see these tight ends going off the board. Like, we want to get Irv Smith Jr. We want to get Albert O. Please. Let's next see Mike Gesicki. Let's get these guys off. Let's see Pat Frymuth. Parker says, thoughts on Javonte Williams' value right now? Seems risky that someone who's on a pitch count going into the third round. Same question about Dynasty. I would say Javonte Williams is in the exact same situation we knew he was going to be just a couple months ago. Maybe he was overvalued a couple months ago. But if you get him in the beginning of the third round of a redraft league, I think it's fine. My rankings, I would have Nick Chubb higher, but from a diversity standpoint and at the same time, if we're going to be looking at creating unique combinations, that's the reason we decided to go through and we decided to take him here. But I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Now we have Tyler Algier going 137. And Javonte Williams, you do not need to worry about him in Dynasty. In Dynasty, Melvin Gordon's on the 1-year contract. Melvin Gordon's getting paid almost nothing either. Like if Javonte Williams, you can get him now as a buy low candidate in Dynasty, you do that. Now, I had a question asked to us earlier from a Dynasty perspective. Would you rather have J.K. Dobbins in a 2023 first or Javonte Williams? Yeah, if that's going to be the price point, I probably just prefer Dobbins and the 2023 first, and I will be a seller of Javonte. But outside of that one specific scenario. Okay, so let's see what we are going to get on the way back around. Freiermuth off 140. Perfect for us. I'm not in love with a Jarvis Landry at wide receiver. Like, we're definitely not going to take a wide receiver here at pick 143. Maybe at 146 we do. Not here at pick 143. I was not planning on doing this either, but Jarvis goes. Our initial plan was to go Tua Tagovailoa, but I feel like this value on Justin Fields is too good to pass up. We still have the correlation with Miami, and Justin Fields is actually one of those guys that I'm not stressing too much about not having the stack with. Like, I will be fine taking Fields even if we didn't take a Darnell Mooney, even if we didn't take a David Montgomery, a Cole Kmet. Because with Justin Fields here, you're drafting him primarily just based on the rushing upside. You're never thinking that Chicago is going to be an elite level offense by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll go Justin Fields, and then we'll actually probably get a wide receiver on the way back around to pick 146. But I'd be very surprised if we see this team right before us go receiver. Yeah, they go Michael Carter, 144. And what else do they decide to do? I mean, if they're looking at quarterback, I don't even know what guy they'd be targeting later on. They go Ronald Jones, 145. So, yeah, I think that we just lock in Robbie Anderson. The other players I'd be interested in outside of Robbie Anderson would actually be down a little bit in ADP. They would be KJ Hamler and Jameson Williams. But with Robbie Anderson, hell, let's take him here in the next draft where we're drafting a little bit later and all these guys are available. We can pull away with a KJ Hamler. We can pull away with the Jameson Williams there. Alex C. coming out says, me again, sorry. How do you have Travis Etienne valued and why? So currently I have Travis Etienne as a player that definitely needed a fall from being a 3rd round pick to now being a 4th. And the reason being is just because I am now more worried about James Robinson specifically having a role in the red zone now that it appears that he is healthy and taking reps with the first team. Now, still, Travis Etienne should have the elite level ceiling as a pass catcher, but it is in the range of outcomes for Travis Etienne to, I don't want to say turn into J.D. McKissic, turn into Nyheim Hines, but what separates the J.D. McKissic and the Nyheim Hines from players like DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, and Alvin Kamara, obviously besides an immense gap in talent. Talent is going to be the number one driver, but that talent leads to opportunity, and those pure passing down running backs, they're not getting the high value touches specifically in the red zone. That's what allows an Alvin Kamara, an Aaron Jones, a DeAndre Swift, and presumably a Travis Etienne to have the elite level ceiling in fantasy, even if they're not getting every single touch out of the backfield. So what you really need to hope for with Travis Etienne is he does have the red zone role over James Robinson. At this point, it's very hard to guarantee, but we'll figure it out. So now we have George Pickens going pick 151, Herbert 152. Obviously, we are still really needing wide receiver. Now, given the fact that it's going to be a best ball format, we are going to be able to attack the position with quantity over quality. We have 2 very good tight ends. We have 2 very good quarterbacks. We have 4 very good running backs. Some people may make the argument we should take 10 wide receivers with this team. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. We're at least drafting 9 wide receivers here and then probably 5 running backs. It depends on the value that we get running back versus wide receiver from here on out. But I can guarantee you that the majority of our picks will be at the wide receiver position. Now we have Romeo Doubs going directly, I want to say 1 round behind Christian Watson, but my math isn't great. It looks like he's going almost 2 rounds behind Christian Watson here. Dylan says, how do you feel about Allen Lazard and Kyle Rudolph? I don't think Kyle Rudolph is going to be startable in fantasy. I do think Kyle Rudolph is going to vulture enough snaps and enough production away from Cameron Brate, where all he really is a thorn in the side of anybody who thought they could draft and start Cameron Brate this season. And in regards of Allen Lazard, he's being priced as if he's the locked-in alpha wide receiver in Green Bay. I do not think it's a guarantee. I think that there is a reasonable chance that one of Christian Watson, Sammy Watkins, Aaron Jones, Allen Lazard, Romeo Doubs, I think any of them could lead this team in targets. So I'm almost going to be just fading the most expensive guy who was an undrafted free agent coming into the NFL, who's never been hyper efficient despite playing in an offense where you'd imagine he'd be hyper efficient because all the defensive attention needed to go to Vontae Adams and Aaron Jones. He's never shown us that he can command a large target share. So I'm personally fading the hell out of Allen Lazard. Like, if we look at where Allen Lazard got drafted in this draft, Allen Lazard here goes to pick 62, going before Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, Elijah Mitchell, Adam Thielen, going before Jalen Hurts. I can never be the guy drafting Allen Lazard at this point. Okay. Now let's scroll this down. We have a lot of luck happening here. We have a decent amount of quarterbacks and tight ends off the board. And those two guys we queued up are still there. How's Winston still available and guys like Matt Ryan and Daniel Jones are off? Is this team right here on auto? This team may be on auto draft. Hopefully they are. Please be on auto. Please be on auto. If they auto draft a fourth quarterback here in Jameis Winston, we're dancing. Please be on auto, Bagel with Ham. Auto draft Winston. Push these quarterbacks way the hell up draft boards. Never mind. Oh, crap. I jinxed myself. Okay, thank God. Oh, we get Jameson Williams here. We save this team. We save this team. We get Jameson Williams, bringing him on as our wide receiver 6, someone that does have the elite level ceiling during the fantasy football playoffs. That's exactly what we needed with this build. That's exactly what we were looking for. Oh, that's so exciting. So exciting. Now, after this, I think we still look to hammer in some of these wide receivers. Like, it's not like these running backs are just must-draft guys in this range. Gerald Everett goes 168. I wonder if this team decides to go Watson. Watson could possibly play the first preseason game? Oh, my gosh. How many people are going to be watching that Browns preseason game if Watson's playing? How many people are going to be watching that game? Okay, let's go through and let's think through this. Let's take Jamison Crowder. I know right now it's being priced in that Isaiah McKenzie's won the starting slot wide receiver job for Buffalo, and that's entirely possible. But at the same time, if I look at Jamison Crowder as the wide receiver that's been able to have a successful NFL career up to this point in multiple different locations and the contract that Jamison Crowder got, personally, I'll go through. I'll take him. I'll take the dip, especially on a build where we need another wide receiver. Anthony says, are you ever going to do the $10,000 draft? There's not a $10,000 draft on Underdog, guys. The highest stakes draft that Underdog has had, I believe, the $1,000 draft, and we are in there. Actually, maybe, are you saying there's like a $10,000 private draft on Underdog? Let me pull this up. Is there a $10,000 draft on Underdog? Okay, people are saying there is. Someone was saying that there was in the premiere earlier today as well. I went to their Twitter and I didn't see anything. Okay, there is a $10,000 draft on Underdog. It's a private draft. Guys, who the hell do y'all think I am? You think I could go into a $10,000 draft? Trust me, guys. I wish I could go into a $10,000 draft. If y'all would want to ever see me be able to go into a $10,000 draft, what you need to do is you need to go down there, drop a like in this live stream, and subscribe to the channel right now. Maybe if we hit 90,000 subs on the channel, we can figure something. I don't know. I mean, we don't have kids. We don't have responsibilities. Maybe we go a little bit wild. Most likely not, guys. Most likely not. Okay. So Corey Davis goes 176. Alec Pierce goes 175. Let me know, what would y'all have done? Would y'all have taken a running back here in round 15? Would y'all have gone running back? I think we are already so heavily built around the running back position that it probably just makes sense for us to go Taylor, Javonte, Josh Jacobs, Chase Edmonds, and then wait until the very end of the draft to grab our next guy. Robert Tonyan falls to pick 178. Love that value with Robert Tonyan. Love that. Love that. Walter says, I'd rather do 5,000 puppy drafts. Yeah, definitely. I would rather do 5,000 puppy drafts. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be 5,000. It'd be 2,000 puppy drafts than just one $10,000 draft. Hendrick says, stop taking running backs. My man, what are you talking about here? I've not taken a running back since round 8. We've gone a total of, I believe, 5 rounds, no running backs. And we're still going to be taking 2 more wide receivers with this build. It's just a question on when do we take that last running back. Let's pull this back around. If I would have known we would have had Watson to fall this far, I probably wouldn't have taken Justin Fields. I definitely wouldn't have taken Justin Fields if I'm going to be completely honest. Mark says, why not skip Justin Fields and take Hunter Henry to stack him with Mac Jones? Because if we're talking a real life perspective, yeah, I agree with you. 100%. Mac Jones is in a way better situation, a way better quarterback than Justin Fields, or at least at this time it appears to be. But this is fantasy football. Justin Fields has rushing upside. Justin Fields can possibly be a poor man's version of Jalen Hurts this season. So that's why we decide to take Justin Fields as our second quarterback. I mean, Fields fell, what, almost 20 picks past his ADP? Yeah. So now we have Zach Wilson going off 184. If you have one quarterback, you have to take Watson in this range. Like, you legitimately have to. If it was just a standard 12-team fantasy football draft, maybe no, you don't. But in this format, Watson's just a no-brainer selection. Okay, so Mac Jones goes 175. I guess maybe we made the right call taking a wide receiver in that last round. I'd say definitely we made the right call taking that wide receiver in the last round. So M down ton on the clock. And real quick in the live chat, let me know, next draft, do you want it to be a $5 draft or a $250 draft? What do you want? Mr. Clad says Justin Fields is a poor man's version of Jalen Hurts, who is a poor man's version of Lamar Jackson. Love the comp. Like, Justin Fields is pretty much a homeless Lamar Jackson. That's how I describe it. Okay. So it looks like we have the majority of people saying $250. How about this? After this draft, I will get into the $250 draft lobby. We'll see how far away it is from filling, because I'd imagine not too many people in this live chat are going to draft with us in the $250 draft. And then if it's like 11 spots from filling, I'm just going to leave and we'll go into a $5 draft. If we join and there was like only 1 spot left, or there's only 2 spots left, we'll sit there and wait the 30 seconds for it to fill. But those $250 drafts are just going to fill so much slower. Brian Robinson goes 189. Love the Brian Robinson selection. At this point, y'all should know exactly who I'm wanting to fall to us here. Pick 191. Say, like, guys, I don't get this. How do you take Zay Jones over Deshaun Watson? Like, realistically speaking, you only have one quarterback. You have to take Watson here. Like, if Watson makes it to us pick 194, I know people are going to hate it. I will go Deshaun Watson. I'll sacrifice a 5th running back to get Deshaun Watson in quarterback. If some people saying the $10,000 draft, guys, trust me, I wish I could get in the $10,000 draft. I wish I could. Now, Gus Edwards goes 192. But if y'all just think about it, like the $250 draft, how is that 40 $250 drafts versus that one $10,000 draft? Yeah, that's 40. Realistically speaking, if we are looking for a unique combination in an elite level ceiling weeks 15, 16, 17, how many more points are contributed to our starting lineup, and how much expected value do we get from a 17-game season of J.D. McKissic or a potential 11-game season of Deshaun Watson, even with this quarterback core? I understand it's suboptimal. Trust me, I wish that we did not take Justin Fields on this team. I wish we would have waited until the very end here, just took Deshaun Watson at this pick, and then in the final round grabbed like a Marcus Mariota or just some trash. Like, if we could go back in a time machine, I 100% trade Justin Fields for KJ Hamler. I trade Justin Fields for Michael Carter, for Ronald Jones. I trade Justin Fields off this team. But how much extra production and what's the realistic ceiling that we are going to have with the Watson pick compared to a Sammy Watkins, compared to a J.D. McKissic? Like, it's a $5 buy-in, $200,000 for first. Sometimes you just have to go for it. I know it's someone in the chat says I like it, but it's very risky. Like I said, it's a $5 buy-in, $200,000 for first. If you're not prepared to lose your $5, if you're not willing to lose your $5 in this draft, shouldn't be drafting. LOLG coming out. Thank you, of course, for coming out every single night. It says, someone gave me CeeDee Lamb and Cam Akers for Leonard Fournette and Adam Thielen. What the hell were they thinking? Great trade. Great trade. Okay, so now we have Tannehill 199, J.D. McKissic going 198. There's a wide receiver that I definitely want to have on the way back around here in the 18th round. You know what? I'm just going to let y'all know I'm taking a wide receiver. I don't think y'all are dying to see exactly who that guy ends up being. So let me go and hop into that $250 draft. And first, I'm going to queue up the wide receiver that we want. And then we'll queue up some backup wide receivers / running backs if we don't get said player. Okay. We should be good to go. We queued up some players that never get drafted. Okay. So we are going to join the big dog on Underdog. It's going to be a $250 draft, $100,000 to first. A much smaller field. Like, we almost won this last year. And there are 6 spots open. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and leave because with 6 spots open, that's going to take forever to fill up. So instead, I will go ahead. I will join the puppy, the $5 draft. And after this puppy draft, if we can go and join that $250 draft and it's not too empty, then we'll run the $250 league. So now we get the 103. So it's going to be a very similar draft after round 1, but obviously the last team was a Jonathan Taylor build, and this team is going to be, I'm assuming, a Justin Jefferson build. I'm assuming. Derek and Nolan saying only 4 spots left now. Okay, so we'll go through. We'll possibly get that next one going. Okay. So looks like we have a decent amount of members in the flock in this draft. We have FSU for Cole drafting right next to us. He is a crusher. Not excited about seeing him. Joseph, Jimmy's, they're both a part of the flock. OBS Destroyers is a part of the flock. Jim Halbert is a part of the flock. I think Chief Sharkbait is a part of the flock as well. It's going to be a brutal draft. This is going to be tough. This is definitely going to be tough. Jordan says he got Justin Jefferson at 9 and Travis Kelce on the way back around. Okay, I'm assuming that's in just your regular fantasy football draft with your friends. There's no way in hell you got that on Underdog. There's a 0% chance you got that on Underdog. But congrats regardless. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson here at pick 3 because you have to start 3 wide receivers. These guys later up on the draft boards, they are going to slide up drafts. And of course, if you want to join these drafts with us, have some fun, get into real money fantasy football drafts, go to the link in the live chat. Go to the link in the description of this live stream. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your first deposit $1 for $1 up to $100. And you'll get our 2022 rankings, and you'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, so make sure you're taking advantage of that. Someone in the chat says FSU for Cole is always in your drafts with you. Yeah, he is. He is a member of the flock. I appreciate him, but at the same time, I don't like drafting with him, and I hate drafting next to him. Hate it. Robert says, I am Chief Sharkbait. Okay, I definitely recognized that you were in a lot of these drafts on the live stream. Happy to see you out here, my friend. Okay, so Devontae goes at 9. Mark, see you out in the chat. Thank you, my man. Now, Travis Kelce goes at 10, and we are on the clock in the other draft. What we are really wanting for the other draft is we are wanting David Bell. Did we get David Bell? No, we did not. I'm trying to think real quick. Yeah, we'll take just freaking Velus Jones. Oh, that other draft was disgusting. That Justin Fields pick was the worst pick I've ever made. Really, the worst pick I've ever made. Odier says, why is Jonathan Taylor falling so much lately? There's just so much sentiment around people saying, oh, injuries are completely random. Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey had the same probability of getting injured this upcoming season. Christian McCaffrey has the higher ceiling. Christian McCaffrey should be the 101. I don't agree with it, but I'm letting you know that's what's going around. That's what people are saying. If anybody wanted to bet me dollar for dollar, hell, I will bet anybody any amount of money on the planet that Jonathan Taylor plays more games than Christian McCaffrey this season. Now, of course, I do think that overall in fantasy football, people overrate their ability to predict injuries. I think injury-centered analysis is lazy and not good. But in this case, with the two extremes, it's at least something. That's fair to say. Okay, let's scroll back around. I guess we may end up with another. You know what? I wouldn't want to take Tyreek here. If we get Evans, we take Evans. Okay, I was going to say we wouldn't take Tyreek Hill. We were going to take one of the running backs over Tyreek. Let's go ahead. Let's take Mike Evans here, pick 22. And I've had a lot of starts where we've gotten Mike Evans late second and Leonard Fournette early third as of late. Let's see if we're able to pull that off again. I really do like that start. You get that correlation with Tampa, and you can obviously target Tom Brady a little bit later on. Okay. So we have T. Higgins going off the board here, pick 24. Tyreek Hill going 23. So this is a draft in general. Maybe they're sliding up wide receivers. I think it's too early to tell. It's definitely too early to tell. Michael Pittman goes at 25. Very interesting. Nick Chubb goes 26. So exactly what we were talking about. I've had this happen to us a ton off the live stream as of late. I don't know exactly how many drafts we've had on the live stream where we have gotten the combination of Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette together here at the 2-3 turn. I think it's a start that has a ton of upside. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to rely on Tom Brady keeping up the pace that he had last year. But if that does happen, then hell, I think it's a very strong start that we can be very excited about. Okay. We have A.J. Brown, pick 28. Mike Williams, 29. And we have someone says, Underdog isn't available in New Zealand. What's the next best thing? To be completely honest, if Underdog is like not available in New Zealand, or I think it's not available in Mexico. I know it's definitely not available in like Australia and Europe. Do y'all have any best ball contests? Like, can y'all do DFS over there? I genuinely don't know. Like, let me know. If you're in Europe right now, if you're in Australia or something, can you do DFS at all? LOLG says, Jonathan Taylor had over 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns. The clear 101. Yeah, like, we can get here and we can all be cute and we can pretend that injuries are 100% random. And if we all want to pretend injuries are 100% random, which they primarily are random. Over the past 5 years, I've been the person advocating that injuries are random, but people have taken it too far. I would bet anybody that Jonathan Taylor plays more games than Christian McCaffrey this season. I would bet anybody. Okay. Now we have Allen Robinson, 39. Terry McLaurin, 38. Hollywood Brown, 40. Let's scroll this down. Retro B says, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says evidence calls for at least a full year's. Yeah, I mean, didn't that break weeks ago? That Goodell wanted a full year suspension. At least he says that publicly. Who knows what he really wants? Okay, so MTB Chuck on the clock. They started one running back, two wide receivers. That's the combination of Javonte, Jamar Chase, and Mike Williams. Okay, FSU for Cole on the clock. Y'all know I'm personally never taking Gabriel Davis. I'm hoping he goes Gabriel Davis. I'd be very happy with Jerry Jeudy here, pick 46. I mean, this is where Jerry Jeudy was going before the Tim Patrick injury. I did not like Jerry Jeudy here that much at that time. But now that Tim Patrick is down, now that there's so many touchdowns available there in Denver, we are going to happily take Jerry Jeudy as our wide receiver 3 here. I think Jerry Jeudy is a clear tier ahead of the other wide receivers in this range as a player that actually does have a significant amount of upside, in my opinion, the wide receiver 1 in his offense, and at the same time should have elite level quarterback play, and the targets aren't going to be as dispersed as we were initially projecting. Okay. And then after this is how I would queue it up. If Lamar, Mahomes, and Kittle all go off the board, then maybe we would take Gabriel Davis. But that's just never going to happen. That's why I barely ever draft Gabriel Davis, because I would prefer grabbing one of these elite level quarterbacks here. Let's see who they give us between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Looks like we're going to get Lamar. Patrick Mahomes is my most drafted quarterback. But the issue is, if we take Mahomes here, you've had Sky Moore and Marquez Valdes-Scantling sliding up draft boards as of late, where it is significantly harder to get them a little bit later on compared to what it used to be. So let's just go ahead, take Lamar Jackson, pick 51. And I think with Lamar, we are completely fine not grabbing another player for the Baltimore Ravens. Like, we don't need another player from the Baltimore Ravens, considering the fact that Lamar Jackson should derive the majority of his fantasy football value with what he does on the ground with his legs. 10 minutes says Dobbins at pick 50. Wow. To be completely honest, this is about where there's no reason why Dobbins should go at the beginning of the 6th. Like, we made that video earlier today. Like, Dobbins, I think, will eventually work his ADP, like, over the next month, where he'll be a 4th round pick. Like, Dobbins right now has an ADP in the 6th round, but I would be willing to say that Dobbins, by the time the season gets around here, is going to have an ADP in the 4th round. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but it is what it is. Eli says Josh Allen is getting drafted way too early. I would say that I would have been fine with the Josh Allen price tag if it wasn't for where these other quarterbacks were being drafted. Like, back when you had Herbert as an early 4th round pick, Patrick Mahomes as an early 4th round pick, Lamar going before this as well. I didn't hate the Josh Allen price because compared to the other quarterbacks, yeah, we could say he's the quarterback one, but I would agree. Like, if we're looking at the range of outcomes here with Josh Allen, does he have that much higher of a ceiling and that much higher of a floor for him to be a mid-3rd round selection in every single one of these drafts compared to Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes going 2 rounds later? I don't know. Ed says top 10 pass catching running backs, top 5 breakouts, top 5 bust. Okay, that's a lot to answer in this while we do this live stream. How about what I'll do for you is I will go through and I will pull up Underdog Fantasy. I will look at my most drafted players across every position. How about that? Now, I'd say if we're talking about the most talented passing down running backs in the NFL, most talented passing down running backs, go CMC 1, Kamara 2, Aaron Jones 3, Swift 4. And then after that, you know what? Maybe Eckler actually at 3 or 4. I don't know. Those are going to be the top 5 pass catchers. But real quick, let me go and let you know who my most drafted players are across each position. So quarterback, most drafted player, Patrick Mahomes. Running back, most drafted player is going to be a Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver, most drafted player, Michael Thomas. Tight end, most drafted player, George Kittle. And yeah, that's it for the positions. I guess let's scroll this down. Hendricks says Najee Harris is a top passing down running back too. That's a little aggressive, my friend. That is a little aggressive. Okay, so what are we going to be doing here at pick 70? In general, I don't like this A.J. Dillon price tag. Like, I've definitely been taking Josh Jacobs before A.J. Dillon. Dillon goes. Let's think through this real quick. The team right after us has already drafted 4 running backs. This team has Taylor, Chubb, Akers, Dobbins. They're done. There's a tier of 3 wide receivers left. Let's grab Adam Thielen here as our wide receiver 4. Let's see what these other teams do on the way back around. But I think there's a decent shot we get Josh Jacobs. Trust me, guys, I've drafted a lot of Josh Jacobs at a much earlier price tag than this. Maybe at one point I just need to throw in the towel. And also, based on the teams here at the turn, I think there's a decent chance we get Jacobs in round 7. It's been happening often. Derek says, hit that like button. Mason, let's do that, big dog. We'll fire up that big dog draft after this. If it's like how it was, if it's like 8 spots open, if they're like 10 spots open, not going to do a big dog, but thank you, of course, for hanging out with us every single night, my man. You know I appreciate you. And yes, guys, after this, I will get a $250 fantasy draft going. We will get a $250 fantasy draft going. We have Trey Lance going 72, Kadarius Toney 73, Allen Lazard 74. So this is why we decided to take Adam Thielen. We're getting Adam Thielen and Josh Jacobs. Remember back in the day when I feel like how many players at this point have changed their names? Remember when it used to be Joshua Jacobs? I believe when he was coming into the NFL in 2019. On MFL, it was listed as Joshua Jacobs. I do not know. Daniel says, what's wrong with my underdog? It says entry fee limit, even though I have enough money deposited. Okay, I'd say you get capped at 150 entries into Best Ball Mania and 150 entries into the puppy draft. So maybe you've max entered. Like I max entered Best Ball Mania. I can't enter anymore. I think the message that I get if I try is something similar to that. But what I would say is reach out to Underdog if you have any issues. Okay. So Eli DeGoat says, how many leagues are you in? Okay, let me go through. Let me count them up. I'll show you all this as well. It's kind of hard to count up because we have the early best ball drafts that I did all the way down. And then we have some private drafts down here. And then we have all of these tournament drafts stacked up. But tournament drafts stacked up, if we add these together, 150, 85, 133, 70, 33. I would say we're probably pushing about 500 drafts at this point. I think it's safe to say we've crossed the threshold of 500 drafts. Okay, so now after this, we have Devonta Smith, 78, Tony Pollard, 79, Brady, 80. I really like grabbing Smith at this falling price point. I truly do. Okay, so let's go through. Let's scroll this up. See if any teams stand out as not necessarily super strong rosters, but at least unique rosters. Like a team going through and mixing it up and not just having a cookie cutter roster from the beginning. Okay, so the team at the 101 going CMC, TA against Michael Thomas, Gabriel Davis, Kittle, Lance. That is a little bit unique, but at the same time, like, I don't love it. Then at 2, Taylor, Hill, Chubb. This is why we decided to take Javonte Williams over Chubb in the last round, just because I do feel like they're going to be a lot more of this specific combination than Javonte Williams. So personally, I mean, I like the trio 100%. I just feel like so many other people are going to have it. And then when we were drafting Jefferson, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, it does suck that we don't get Tom Brady on the way back around at 94. It is a long shot to get Brady here, but it would have been really nice to get that double stack in there with Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette. Then if we're looking at FSU for Cole, goes Cooper Kupp, Alvin Kamara, AJ Brown, Darren Waller, Patrick Mahomes, AJ Dillon, and Brandon Ayuk. I very, very much like that team. I think it's a unique team. And at the same time, I think they're getting the elite level quarterback, the elite level tight end, and not necessarily sacrificing too much value elsewhere. LOLG says, sorry, Mason, but David Montgomery and Antonio Gibson, I have none of them. I was never a big fan of Montgomery until now all of a sudden he goes in round 6. Same thing with Jacobs. I was never a big fan of Jacobs until we're starting to get Josh Jacobs in round 6. Now round 7. But I was drafting him in round 6. Okay, Sky Moore off the board. I'm not taking Rashad Penny. There's no way in hell I'm taking Penny here. At this point, do we just go MVS? Let's sit here and think for a second. Yeah, let's go Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Let's just have access to some spike weeks. Adam coming out says, Mason, there's an alien race of women who are collecting men with large genitalia. They wanted me to let you know you are safe, but I'm watching you from the spaceship, and this is awesome. Oh, thank God I am safe. It sounds like I am in the safest spot I could possibly be. So good thing that's specifically what they're on the search for. If they're on the search for something else, maybe I'd be in danger, but happy to hear that I am safe. I'm wishing that you get back home and you are fine soon, okay? Wishing you the best, keeping you in my prayers, my friend. Okay, after this, I'm assuming we are going to be, I don't even know what we're doing here. What the hell am I supposed to do at this pick? Claypool off the board. Let's go Lockett. Let's go. I don't want to talk about it. We're going to go Tyler Lockett. Looking at some of these other wide receivers getting drafted, here you have this team from the 2 spot deciding to take a Robert Woods into Chase Claypool. I think there's a chance that these wide receivers are just going to slide up draft boards based on what we are looking at with best available. So hopefully we can take Lockett here and we can get a running back value that we like on the way back around at pick 118. I don't exactly know what to expect, though. I don't know what to. Time says, this draft is fast. I started my draft at the same time, and we're only in the 6th round. I do really like these fast drafts on Underdog. I mean, sometimes you do get stuck in the crappy draft where you have like 3 or 4 people on auto, but this one's fast. This one's good. Now we have Russell Gage off the board, 101. James Cook goes 102. Good thing for us to see Russell Gage off the board. I really do want some running back value on the way back around. Tyler Boyd, 103. I think we read the room correctly looking at these wide receivers sliding up draft boards across the board. Garrett Wilson goes 104. Yeah, I think we made the correct decision. Bob says, got my friend to use code FLOCK to sign up today on Underdog. Hopefully your guide helps his regular teams. He could use it. Thank you so much for spreading the good word, my man. You know how much I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And hopefully I can get you in here in the next draft. Actually, next draft may be tough. Next draft, we're probably going to do a $250 one. But after that, then we'll probably fire up another $5 one. We're going to draft a lot tonight, guys. Don't you worry at all. We're going to be drafting a ton tonight. I started extra early. That way we could go through. We could possibly get 5-6 drafts going. We'll see. I think we've been doing 4 drafts every single night. We'll probably get a 5th one going tonight. Now Melvin Gordon goes 109. Harris, Singletary, Kenneth Walker all off the board. What I would love to hear is there someone in the chat right now that really likes the Damien Harris price point? Like, is there someone that was a fan of Damien Harris before he fell down boards and is now looking at Damien Harris here and going, oh my gosh, Damien Harris is the best pick ever? Like, let me know if that's you. Let me know if you are the only person on the planet that loves Damien Harris, because I felt like last year I was fighting against a lot of people who like Damien Harris. So I was never taking him because he never had upside to actually win you your fantasy football league, given he had no receiving skill set whatsoever. But he did break out last year to the best of his ability. He's going later this year. Rhamondre Stevenson's going before him. Okay, so yeah, it looks like a lot of people. Doc says he loves that price on Harris. Okay, we have one person out here. Nick says, hey man, dude wants James Cook off me. He offered Rhamondre Stevenson in the future second in a 12-team dynasty league. Is that enough to let go of James Cook? If you believe that you could possibly flip Rhamondre in the second for a future first, I think I would go for it, because right now you have so much hype for Rhamondre Stevenson that I feel like you could end up flipping him for enough, but I don't know. Cook's in a great situation this year as well. Now, Dameon Pierce goes off the board 116. Let's sit here and think about this. Okay, I think we have to take Cousins no matter what. Like, I would want to get cute with it, and I would want to say, oh, okay, well, Derek Carr's still on the board. Let's pass on Cousins here. Let's take another player, and we'll just let Derek Carr go to a team at either pick 119, 120, 121, 122, and we'll get Cousins all the way back around. But in reality, if I'm looking at this entire draft board, they're all the same. Like, am I jumping up and down to freaking draft Jalen Tolbert? No. Am I jumping up and down to draft Isaiah Spiller? No. So we're going to take Kirk Cousins here. Yes, I do have Derek Carr ranked before Kirk Cousins, but on this team in particular, if you see, we drafted both Justin Jefferson as our wide receiver 1 and Adam Thielen as our wide receiver 4. So if this team's going to be any good, Kirk Cousins needs to be good. Kevin O'Connell needs to come in and turn this into a truly pass-happy offense. So we already bet that that's going to happen with our selections of both Justin Jefferson as the wide receiver 1 in this draft, as well as Adam Thielen at pick 70. Okay. So we have a very strong receiver core. Kind of just need to see who the hell do we want in this range? This is just such a gross range of drafts. Isaiah Spiller goes 121. Cole Kmet goes 122. Rachaad White could be interesting in terms of sneaking a team through to the weeks 15, 16, 17, and maybe having a unique combination. If we go Golladay. Sit here and think. We're going to take Golladay. I don't know what to do. Let me know in the live chat what you think we should have done. I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a massive fan of this draft. Like, we do have the elite level quarterback play with Lamar. We have Cousins as well. We have a great receiver core, especially from a best ball perspective, with Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, Adam Thielen, MVS, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Golladay. At running back, we have Leonard Fournette and Josh Jacobs. But it's just not that exciting of a draft. I feel like outside of the Kirk Cousins pick, over the past 4 rounds, we haven't had a no-brainer selection. We've just kind of been sitting in no man's land every single one of these drafts. Okay. Paul says Irv Smith Jr. for the stack. Abdul says the issue, guys, with going through and then getting a triple stack of that offense and having 4 of your top 11 picks come from one offense in particular, we do need to, at some point, draw the line with our correlation. Like, if we were going to be one of the few teams that had the elite top 1 percentile outcome in week 17, where we crush the rest of the field, we win the $200,000. Realistically speaking, can we get there with 4 of our 8 starters coming from one offense? Can that winning lineup have Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Justin Jefferson at receiver, Adam Thielen at wide receiver, and Irv Smith Jr. at tight end? What would a Kirk Cousins day need to look like for that to happen? Would we need 5 passing touchdowns from Kirk Cousins and 400 passing yards? I think at some point we are not going to do that. Now, if Irv Smith Jr. were to make it back to us to pick 142, we will go ahead. We'll take Irv Smith Jr. at that price point. I do think it would be slightly better. But I do have to cap myself off from just drafting every one of our early picks from the same offense. I definitely prefer having the correlation. I like going out there and targeting the same guys. I mean, guys in the same offense. But at that point, it would seem definitely excessive. Okay, so we need running back value in the way back round. We need tight end. We need running back. We're done at quarterback. It'd be very nice for us to see Tua Tagovailoa off the board here. Let's see this. Landry gone. I'm not a big Landry guy. If anything, I would probably prefer like Robbie Anderson and Jameson Williams and KJ Hamler over Landry. And Gainwell off the board. Kenneth Gainwell was going to be one of those running backs that we were hoping on the way back around. And real quick, guys, if y'all have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel. We are going to try to get a $250 draft going after this, despite the fact that our first 2 drafts in this live stream have not been the best. I felt like we had such a hot streak of like 3 or 4 live streams in a row, just drafting the most beautiful teams ever. And then today on the live stream, and even yesterday on the live stream, yesterday we started the live stream with a beautiful team, but then we definitely had some duds down the stretch. Let's see what we're going to be looking at here. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, take KJ Osborne. We already had the double stack with Jefferson and Adam Thielen. The only reason KJ Osborne has an ADP here is because the Kirk Cousins team always takes KJ Osborne. We definitely need a running back. Let's go ahead. Let's take Algier. Let's take Tyler Algier. If they want to go KJ Osborne, I'm fine with it. If we did not take Adam Thielen at pick 70, like if we did not have the double stack with Jefferson and Adam Thielen, I would be fine going KJ Osborne here. But I'm not dying to get the triple stack, especially when we were desperate at running back. Now keep 14 on the clock. They only have 1 quarterback, 1 tight end. Their quarterback and tight end is the combo of Trey Lance as well as Mike Gesicki. So they go ahead, they take Hunter Henry at pick 144. That is going to be very interesting. What reports have been coming out about Gesicki that have made him so unappealing for everybody? Like, Gesicki has been plummeting down draft boards. I think we go ahead. I do really like some of the wide receiver value in this range. I like a Robbie Anderson. I like a Jameson Williams here. But I think we take James Robinson. Now that it sounds like Robinson is going to be healthy, he was getting first team reps. I still 100% prefer Travis Etienne. I still 100% prefer the running back that should be worked in as a passing down option. At this point, I think it is going to be a fine selection with where we're getting him. God. Thank God we got this warm-up $5 draft in. If I burned $250 on this team, I would be crying right now on the stream. And same thing with the last team. Let's go through. Let's try to figure out, where did things go wrong? Where did we make this mistake? Because if we're looking at what we did here at running back, Leonard Fournette in the 3rd, great value. I'm taking that value every day of the week. Josh Jacobs in the 7th. I felt like we did such a good job of playing that turn pick at the 6-7 turn where we wanted both Adam Thielen and Josh Jacobs. We looked at the teams that were picking between us. We evaluated the possibility of getting Jacobs versus Adam Thielen on the way back around. We determined that we were more likely to get Jacobs. All that went exactly how we wanted. I mean, we went through. We decided to take Thielen and still got Josh Jacobs at pick 75. Pick 94, we go MVS. I don't love the Marquez Valdes-Scantling selection, but are we supposed to go running back here? You know what we probably should have done? Looking at this draft, the bad pick was Tyler Lockett. 100% the horrendous pick was Tyler Lockett here at pick 99. We wanted to get cute with it. We wanted to see if a running back would have made it back to us on the way back around. But at the end of the day, we were going to need to take Kirk Cousins here at 118 regardless. So what we should have done is we should have passed on Tyler Lockett at pick 99. We should have gone for one of the rookie running backs with either James Cook or Kenneth Walker. And then instead of having to take James Robinson here at pick 147, I would have been able to take Jameson Williams. Like, who do you prefer? Realistically, who are you going to prefer in fantasy football? The combination of Tyler Lockett and James Robinson? Or are you going to prefer the combination of James Cook and Jameson Williams? Or Kenneth Walker and Jameson Williams? I think the rookies have so much more upside, specifically at the very end of the season, weeks 15, 16, and 17 as well. So I think we did make that mistake. That's going to be something that we need to fix in the next draft, especially if it's going to be the $250 draft. Joseph coming out says, thoughts on my team? I don't know about it at pick 7. Okay, thank you, my man, of course, for hanging out with us and drafting with us. Let's go through and let's check out your team. At 7, we go Austin Eckler at the gate. I think that's fine. I mean, most people are taking Eckler here. Aaron Jones, 18. Aaron Jones would have been my selection. Keenan Allen, 31. That would have been my pick. Justin Herbert at 42. I mean, it's marginal. I don't necessarily think we could sit here and say, oh, Justin Herbert's the best value ever. Of course, you take him so you could get Keenan Allen. What I will say is, in a lot of these drafts, you've seen Justin Herbert fall into the middle of the 5th round. Like, I've had that happen to multiple drafts for us as of late. So, possibly in a tournament-style contest, if you're just trying to have that highest ceiling possible, you go ahead and you decide to pass on Herbert here, see if he comes back around to you the 5th. But in reality, it doesn't matter that much. I mean, Herbert's probably the right selection. Cooks, 55. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 66. Are going to be the best players available according to ADP. Pollard in the 7th. I don't like it. But at the same time, I understand the argument if you're looking at the receiving role he may have. Miles Sanders, pick 90. Love the Miles Sanders pick. Really like the Tyler Boyd pick at 103. Aaron Rodgers, 114. Followed up with Christian Watson. I love that. Irv Smith Jr. you're getting at a value. Robbie Anderson, Isaiah McKenzie. I really like the team. I think your team's significantly better than ours. I'm at least happy that we could go through and we can address what we did wrong with this team with that Tyler Lockett selection. That way, in that next draft, we're not making that same mistake. And here, we cannot take a quarterback, but in reality, I don't give a damn. I love this tight end range. I love all the tight end values here, whether it's Robert Tonyan, Tyler Higbee, or Noah Fant. We're definitely going to take a tight end at this point. FSU for Cole, listening to this live stream, he has Stafford. I wonder if he goes ahead and if he decides to take Higbee here to pair up with Stafford. No, he goes Brian Robinson. Thank God, because I actually want to grab 2 tight ends on the turn here. I would love the combination of Robert Tonyan and Tyler Higbee. Let's see if we get him. This team here on the clock goes Daniel Jones. Okay, good. They're getting these quarterbacks off the board. Wan'Dale goes at 169 to pair up with Daniel Jones. This team on the clock has Cole Kmet as well as Mike Gesicki. They decide to go Noah Fant. So we're going to get Tyler Higbee. I'm very excited about this tight end core so far. I mean, we talked about this in a video, but looking at the tight end 20 on a points per game basis compared to the tight end 6, the tight end 8, they're essentially the same exact player. That's why in 9 out of 10 of these drafts, I'm avoiding the guys like Dawson Knox at 110, Cole Kmet at 122, and instead I'm just going to be waiting as long as I can. Like the Dawson Knox at 110 versus Robert Tonyan at 166. In my opinion, there's not a massive difference between those two guys. So I really like the tight end value that we were able to get. We're going to draft one more tight end, probably an extra running back. We'll figure it out. Okay. But real quick, guys, we are 40 likes away from getting another draft going after this. So if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream, and subscribe to the channel. We do these drafts every single night on the live stream. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. Make sure you are drafting with us here. Sean says, Mason, as usual, what do you think about OBS destroyers? Let's go through. Let's check you out, my man. This is going to be a team from pick 9, starting off with double receiver Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, Hollywood Brown, going very wide receiver heavy through the first 4 rounds. David Montgomery, pick 57. With this build in particular, I do like the value. I'm sure you were hoping that you had Kyler Murray making it back to you on the way at pick 64. I apologize. I don't know why I can't talk here. Why I was stumbling over my words is I noticed Juju Smith-Schuster fell to pick 63 here, where I've been seeing a ton of Juju Smith-Schuster at like pick 48 as of late. So that's a very interesting team that we had from pick 10. But side note, let's go back to your team. Antonio Gibson, 81. I'm fine with it. Hawkinson, 88. I've been drafting a lot of Hawkinson there. I do think that he is different than these other tight ends like Dawson Knox, like even Zach Ertz. I think that he does have a significant ceiling. Then Kenneth Walker, 105. Zach Ertz, 112. I'm not a massive Zach Ertz fan, especially when you already go Hawkinson. Alexander Madison, 129. I really like. Jarvis, 136. Let me sit here and think about this for 1 second. I don't necessarily know if I'm going Jarvis 136. Like, I know you need wide receiver. Like, you start with those first 4 guys and you're looking to bring in your 5th receiver here. I guess he was probably the best value on the board. I really like the Rojo pick at 160, so maybe it wouldn't have made sense for you to go Gainwell. So yeah, I guess fine pick with Jarvis Landry. Great pick with George Pickens. Great pick with Ronald Jones. You know, I'm not going to complain about a Deshaun Watson selection in this tournament style format. So I do like it. NG says, Mason, always a pleasure. Love it when I see you live. Great content. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. Thank you all, guys. I really do appreciate y'all. And it looks like we just hit 600 likes on the stream. So we will be firing up a $250 draft after this. I'm going to make a couple more selections. We definitely need to get 6 running backs on this team, 1 more tight end. So it looks like we're probably done at wide receiver. We're done at receiver. We're going to bring in 1 more tight end, 2 more running backs. We just need to figure out the order we're taking these guys in. Let's read this report on Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is adjusting to a more of a tight end role as he rehabs from the Liz Frank injury suffered late last season. He was still wearing a non-contact jersey during Tuesday's practice. Okay. So nothing we really need to be looking at. Let's go running back here. Let's take a running back as our 5th guy. We just need someone that's going to be able to hit our starting lineup, actually put points in there. So J.D. McKissic is a natural fit. Looking at the teams after us, one of them has 3 tight ends. The other one took Kittle and another tight end relatively early. So I don't think they can take another tight end here at the 16-17 turn. Benson says, hey, Mason, Kate or Christian White? Okay. I'm assuming these are girls. Let me look it up. Kate, Lynn, Tyne. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about here, my man. Is this a joke that I don't get? Y'all know. Okay, this is over my head. But thank you, my man, anyway. I appreciate you. And I guess we go ahead, take Taysom Hill as our 3rd tight end, hoping that maybe somehow, some way he gets to start a quarterback, and all of a sudden we get a starting quarterback sliding into our tight end slot. Highly unlikely with them bringing in Andy Dalton, but if it's a 1% chance, it's still worth taking him as our tight end 3 here. And then we are going to queue up some other running backs, and then I'm probably just going to go ahead and fire up our next draft. It will be a $250 draft here on Underdog. So let me go through. We'll see how many spots are available in this. 10 spots are open. Guys, it's a $250 draft. We're not going to fill it with 10 spots. So we'll have to try it the next time around. Let's go through. Let's enter into a $5 draft. And hopefully we can get the $250 draft going next. I don't want to sit in a waiting room for a very long time waiting for it to fill up. So let's go in this $5 draft. And it looks like this draft's going to be composed primarily of members of the flock based on how many spots were open when we first joined this. And we're at the 108. So maybe this is what we need. Maybe we need some new juju. Maybe we need a new draft spot. We picked from pick 2 and pick 3 earlier today. And oh, it was not that exciting. We did not have that great of teams. But maybe this is what we needed. Pick 8. Mix it up here. Mix it up. Mr. Steph says he's in there at the 11 spot. We also have OBS Destroyers. The Moose, I believe, drafted with us a ton last year. Costa, I think, drafted with us a ton last year as well. So we do have some members of the flock in this draft. Hopefully, at 8, we get a value that we like. Hopefully, we get our guy, Stephon Diggs, but we'll figure it out. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you all so much for coming out drafting with us. And, of course, if you want to get into our next draft, make sure you go to the link in the live chat, the link in the description of the video. When you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. They're going to get you our 2022 rankings. They're going to get you our 2022 fantasy football draft guide that is 300 pages for a $10 deposit. Make sure you take advantage of that. Make sure you go have some fun, get into some drafts with us. But looks like a very standard start here through the first 5 picks. Eckler going at 6. That's right in line with ADP as well. Diggs goes at 7. So what? We're taking Henry? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's take Derrick Henry. Pick 8. I know people hate us when we say that Derrick Henry shouldn't be drafted in the top 5. Some people think Derrick Henry shouldn't be drafted in the first round. I think, yes, he does have his red flags. But at the end of the day, he was the running back 1 on a points per game basis last year. He averaged the most carries of his NFL career last year on a per game basis. And at the same time, he averaged the most targets on a per game basis of his NFL career. So in that other draft, I think we maybe just saved it by a Dearness Johnson selection in the last round. Surprised he fell there with the Kareem Hunt rumors. Because if Hunt is traded, it's going to be a very exciting pick. And we are on the clock in a $100 draft that I would like your opinion on. But we'll get that at the very end of the live stream. Okay, so Dalvin Cook goes at 9. Devontae Adams goes at 10. Freddie says, watch out for the picks after you. Okay, so I'm assuming Freddie's picking after us. Oh, dear God. This is going to be tough. So Najee Harris goes at 11. No big surprise here. I'm assuming we get Kelsey and Lamb at the turn. There's one of the guys. I would love if we got Kelsey on the way back around the second. Let's see. Yeah, Kelsey, Lamb. See, if I'm at the 1-2 turn, like I almost would refuse to draft Kelsey and Lamb just because I feel like it's going to be the most common start that you even have in all of these drafts. Like every team has the combination of Kelsey and Lamb. Self-Made Fantasy saying that you have Mike Gesicki spending more time blocking than running routes. I guess it would make sense if you look at the combination of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Those are probably the guys that you want to get. Oh, my gosh, guys. Oh, my gosh. Did you see that? Kyle Pitts, pick 15. Okay. This is what we needed to break the juju. Here we go. We're ramping up. This is the start of something special. Joe Mixon, pick 17 here. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. Getting Mixon. I have moved Joe Mixon up my running back rankings in additional spot. Joe Mixon, technically, if you look at my rankings right now, which I have a video coming out tomorrow. A video coming out. Updating our top 12 rankings. We have someone like Leonard Fournette falling a bit. We have Mixon rising a bit. We have Kamara breaking into the top 12. We have some updates tomorrow. But Mixon is now a running back 4. Mixon is my running back 4. I just think if we look across the board, it's a running back in an elite level offense that has an elite level workload, that is 26 years old. Like, all the boxes are checked for Joe Mixon to have an elite running back one season. I think Mixon could be the running back one overall this upcoming season. Love this. Sam says, Mason, you were so high last year on Mixon as well. Yeah. Joe Mixon is forever undervalued in the fantasy football community. I don't know why people hate Mixon so much. Maybe it's due to some off the field stuff back in college. I don't know. Trust me. OU sucks. Hook 'em horns. Like, you think I want to be rooting for an Oklahoma Sooner? No, I don't want to be doing that. But if I get, in my opinion, a running back with upside to be the running back one overall in fantasy, and I can get him at pick 17, I'm doing that every day of the week. Every day of the week. Okay. So AJ Brown goes 128. At this point, I don't even give a damn what comes back to us at pick at pick 32. We already have Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon. GG. Game over to all of y'all. We already won. Aaron Law out here. I've not seen you out in a while saying Boomer Sooner. Oh. Hook 'em horns, my friend. Hook 'em horns. Flip says, Mason, just want to check. Do you do only private drafts when there's no puppy running, correct? Yes, I maxed out Best Ball Mania, so we are going to get private drafts going when there is no puppy draft on Underdog. So if you can't get in with us in one of these puppy drafts, or you don't want to do the tournament drafts on Underdog and you just want to do private drafts with us on Underdog Fantasy, we are going to get those going as well. We're going to take Mike Williams here. I mean, I do have DJ Moore ranked above Mike Williams in our rankings, but if we're looking at unique combinations, very rarely is Mike Williams going to make it down here at pick 32, and the amount of teams that are going to have the combo of Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Mike Williams are going to be almost non-existent, especially if we compare it to someone like a DJ Moore. So we are going to take Mike Williams, get the unique combo, and at the same time get a player that I don't have in nearly as many drafts as DJ Moore. If y'all remember earlier this offseason, I was able to get DJ Moore consistently in the 4th round. That's never happening with DJ Moore now. I still love me some DJ Moore. I still prefer him in a vacuum over Mike Williams, but it is what it is. And let's see what this team that goes Kyle Pitts at 15 does. All eyes on this team that started off Davante Adams and Kyle Pitts. Oh, dear God. All eyes on this team here. Taking it down. Travis Etienne pick 34. See, why I don't like this start is you don't even have a unique combo from a perspective of this entire tournament. Like, Pitts is going to fall to the 3rd for Davante Adams teams a ton. Etienne's going to be in the 4th. So there can be a team that has the combo Davante Adams, Kyle Pitts, and Travis Etienne. But at the same time, they picked up an additional 2nd round pick because they decided not to reach on those 2 players. So if you were going to, say, reach on a player, it would make sense to have like a unique combo. Like if you wanted to take Davante Adams and Mark Andrews on the same team, hell, do it. But to take Pitts here, just, in my opinion, there's no reason for it. Cheeky Hobson saying to saw those horns off, Giga Mags. I mean, A&M is irrelevant, okay? Nobody. I live in Austin, Texas. I've been in Austin, Texas for a very long time. Nobody ever talks about the Aggies. I know y'all talk a lot about us, but here, OU sucks. And, you know, hook 'em horns. Hook 'em horns. Now, here, what is this team doing? So far, Adams, Pitts, Etienne. Adams, Pitts, Etienne. And Waller goes early in this draft as well. They go Godwin, pick 39. Give us our guy. Please. Please, 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 please give us our guy. Come on. This team's gone Dalvin, Barkley, and DJ Moore through the first 3 rounds. Y'all know how much I love me some Jalen Waddle. They go Waddle. That sucks. At this point, I think we wanted to just take a wide receiver. We'll take McLaurin. It is what it is. I don't necessarily think any of these wide receivers stand out from each other. I mean, if anything, if you look at my rankings, I may have Jerry Jeudy ranked before Terry McLaurin, but we'll be able to get Jerry Jeudy later in another draft. George says, Mason, are you taking Clausen in the 10th round? Sadly, no, I am not, my friend. Sadly, no, I'm not. Okay. This is pretty exciting. exciting stuff here. I mean, the wide receivers aren't my guys. Like, y'all know I've never been a massive Terry McLaurin, never been, at least in 2022, I haven't been a massive Mike Williams guy. I mean, back last year, if y'all don't remember, and I don't even remember actively going out of my way to draft Mike Williams, but I had Mike Williams in a ton of drafts last year. He was one of my most drafted players on Underdog, and I want to say I just got lucky. Like, it wasn't like I was sitting there looking at Mike Williams as an extreme value last season as he turned out to be. I guess I was just getting put in the right spot to need a wide receiver in the round Mike Williams was going in very often. And I didn't hate Mike Williams by any means, so I was just taking him. Like, trust me, I don't want to act like, oh, I told you all on Mike Williams. I loved Mike Williams last year. No. We did tell you on Swift. We did tell you on Mixon. We told you on a couple players. Mike Williams wasn't one of those guys. I got very lucky to have Mike Williams in so many drafts last year, and I don't have him nearly as much this season because the situation, in my opinion, looks identical to what it once was, and you're having to pay a third-round price tag on him. So I'm not a big fan of Mike Williams. Given the context of this team, though, I think we had to make the pick. Okay. Jaden says, shout out to A&M with the 46th ranked class currently. I thought Texas A&M had like the best recruiting class in the country. Did they not? Did something change? Serious question. Did something change? I thought A&M had like the best recruiting class in the country. Okay. Regardless, Juju Smith-Schuster goes 51. Mahomes goes 52. Okay, so you have a ton of wide receivers off the board here. Come on. Come on, baby. Kittle goes 54. There's now one player that I'd really like on the way back around. Come on. Rick Straw on the clock. They have Swift, Breece Hall, Stephon Diggs, and Keenan Allen. What are they doing here? They go Metcalf. So we get an easy selection, in my opinion. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take J.K. Dobbins. We made the case in the video today, in my opinion, why J.K. Dobbins is such an appealing player, especially with the injury news regarding Gus Edwards. If Gus Edwards isn't going to be good to go anytime soon, I think that is wheels up for Dobbins. Mike Davis should still have a role. It should be a slight committee. Like, Dobbins is never going to see every carry out of this backfield. But given the efficiency you should expect in this offense, given the talent that Dobbins is, and now the positive injury reports that we have, I think Dobbins will be a fourth-round fantasy football selection by the time the season gets here. I really do think that J.K. Dobbins is going to be a fourth-round fantasy selection by the time the season gets here. Now, study says running backs fly off the board in my league. So assume the first two rounds are 90% running backs. I have the first and 20th pick overall, or 10 and 11 turn better back combo. Thanks, but okay. So essentially, do you want to go ahead and to get pick 1 and 20 or pick 10 and 11 to set yourself up with some running backs? So if we're assuming that just primarily running backs are going off and this is going to be a 10-team league, what I would actually do is I would take advantage of your league mates. Let them take those running backs like a David Montgomery over wide receivers like Mike Evans and T. Higgins. If I were you, I would get pick 1. I would lock yourself in Jonathan Taylor in a league that's going to overvalue the running back position. And then on the way back around at the 2-3 turn, instead of maybe reaching on an Elijah Mitchell, reaching on a, say, Josh Jacobs, anybody of that ilk, take Mark Andrews. Take an elite level tight end. Take an elite level wide receiver. Like, if you really think 90% of those picks will be made up of the running back position, hell, you could maybe start a draft off with Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, and Mark Andrews. That'd be very exciting. I'd go 1 and 2. Okay. So Kyler Murray goes 64. We're going to go David Montgomery here. Sorry, not sorry. Says, not trashing Underdog. I love the site. Just praying they're not scamming people. Man, do you have any idea how big Underdog is? I'm pretty sure BlackRock just invested into Underdog at like a $600 million valuation. Like, Underdog's up there. That's like saying, oh, I like DraftKings. I like FanDuel. Hopefully they don't scam people. That's the equivalent thing of what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I understand that your draft does go very running back heavy, but just because your league mates are going to go so running back heavy, It doesn't mean that you just have to follow the crowd and you have to 100% take a running back through the first 2 picks. I think definitely getting that anchor running back, getting someone like Taylor would make a lot of sense in that format. And then still getting the elite level tight end, still getting the elite level wide receiver. So I like the idea of getting the 101. Now, after we take David Montgomery here at pick 65, we're probably not going to take another running back because look at how strong our running back core here is. Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, and David Montgomery. If these are our first 4 running backs, realistically speaking, now that we know that you do have J.K. Dobbins good to go week 1, do we need another guy? Like, realistically speaking, are we going to need another player at the running back position? I feel like we are just set for the entire season at this point. Now, if we're going to be going forward at wide receiver, 100% we need help. We still need help at receiver. We don't have a quarterback. We don't have a tight end. So at this point, if we can save roster spots specifically by not drafting another running back and loading up on those other positions and possibly just take advantage of some wide receiver volatility, specifically in best ball, I think it will be interesting. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we get some wide receiver value. I wouldn't mind grabbing an elite level quarterback on the way back around either. We'll figure it out. George says, thoughts on the recent Sawyer K allegation? Okay, I don't know if y'all are just trolling me out here. If this is a fantasy football topic, I can get into it. But legitimately, if it doesn't regard fantasy football, I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I just looked up Sawyer K and I have no idea who the hell that is. If y'all haven't realized this by now, guys, I live stream every single night fantasy football content for like 200 days a year. I post a fantasy football video every single day, 365 days a year, the majority of days, multiple videos. I work on average, probably 60 to 80 hours a week just on fantasy football. This is my entire life. If it's not fantasy football, I'm sorry. I can't help you with it. I don't even know what it is. Okay. So let's take Dalton Schultz here, pick 80. After we take Dalton Schultz, I think now we are potentially setting ourselves up with the ability to only take 2 tight ends as well. So we could really just be saving so many roster spots here for wide receiver, which is going to be very appealing in that best ball context, as we were talking about, taking advantage of the wide receiver volatility. And usually I'm never drafting Dalton Schultz because I do think that you're going to be looking at the wide receivers in that tier directly after guys like a Devonta Smith, a Brandon Ayuk, a DeAndre Hopkins. I think those wide receivers are significantly more appealing than Dalton Schultz. But hell, this is just the position that we are put in. Okay. So let's scroll this down after Dalton Schultz at pick 80. You have Russell Wilson going at 84. Oh, dear God. We said, I'm not taking another running back in this draft. And they said, okay, bet. They said, we'll see about that. Now, I'm still not taking another running back in this draft. I'll tell you that, even though I love the Clyde Edwards-Helaire value. I love the Tony Pollard value. I love the Miles Sanders value. We just can't do it. We can't do it. I think instead we probably go ahead. And I'm not even reaching on tight end here. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't reach on wide receiver here. I can't take Marquez Valdes-Scantling over Dak Prescott or TJ Hawkinson. So we 100% need to go ahead and grab one of Dak and Hawkinson and then build our team after this. I think this team right before us is on auto. Yeah, they're on. No, I guess they're just queuing up their picks and letting it run down because they did take Michael Thomas before ADP. Okay, let's sit here and think. Do we want Dak or Hawkinson? Both. You know what? No, we took. Yeah, it's Dak easy. We took Dalton Schultz. Going to be a Dak Prescott selection. Easy Dak Prescott selection here. And we are also going to be able to go through and get Michael Gallup at a very reasonable range. Michael Gallup currently, I believe, has an ADP around pick like 133. Unless I'm misremembering, I think we are going to be able to get Michael Gallup in about round 11 or 12. So I think we'll be able to get a cheap Dak Prescott double stack here with Dalton Schultz and Gallup And at the same time, given where we grabbed Dalton Schultz in this draft, where he usually goes at the 6-7 turn, I'm unsure that too many teams in this contest are going to have that unique combination of those two players. So yeah, I really like what we did here at the 7-8 turn. Obviously, if you looked across the board, the best value available was going to be those running backs. But we couldn't take running backs because we went with the J.K. Dobbins in round 5. We went with the David Montgomery in 6. And you have Kareem Hunt here going before Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CEH making it back to the end of the 8th round. Oh, I am very jealous with whoever's going to be able to make that selection. Let's see if he makes it back to the Patrick Mahomes team. Yeah, Mahomes ends up getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. Look at this start. I am so jealous of this team. I maybe don't necessarily agree with the Sky Moore selection. I understand wanting to get in correlation. I understand maybe you didn't necessarily want to take the risk that you had another Kansas City Chiefs player making it back to you at the end of the 8th round, whether that's MVS, Sky Moore, or CEH. But here, being able to go through and to be able to take Hollywood Brown in the 4th, A.J. Brown at 28, Jacobs in the 6th, CEH in the 8th. I really like that team from pick 4. Now, maybe I'm a little bit too high on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is one of my most drafted players, but it is what it is. We'll see. And then we have some more wide receivers going off draft boards. Oh, dear God. All right, we'll figure this out, ladies and gentlemen. We have Dawson Knox going off. The Moose 54 goes James Cook. The Lego guy says, Mason, we all know you pick a kicker or a defense in the first round. The issue is why I can't talk about kickers or defenses, or why I can't draft them in these leagues, is that's where I really make our money for the Fantasy Flock Network. Like, if y'all don't know, I do give a list of kicker rankings and defense rankings out every single year, but I don't really advertise it on the YouTube channel just because the majority of people watching the YouTube channel aren't going to be able to afford our kicker and defense rankings. We do charge for our kicker rankings a $10,000 entry into that $10,000 underdog draft. You have to buy our way in. And then the same thing with our defense. They don't even come together in the same package. It's another $10,000 entry for you to pay for one of my underdog teams for us to get in the nosebleed stakes there. So, yeah, you can learn more about defenses and kickers from me. If you got 10K to put me in a fantasy football draft. But if not, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to talk kicker and defense on the live stream. Okay. Let's scroll this down, and we're going to take Russell Gage 104. Trust me, I do not like this value on Russell Gage. I do not want to be the guy taking Russell Gage at pick 104, but looking at our team, we have to be the guy taking Russell Gage at 104. Winter Leads out in the chat. I've not seen you out here in quite some time. Super happy to see you out, my friend. We have Melvin Gordon going 107. Cheeky Opson says, where do I pay? It's also private invite. Like, it's not going to be open to the public for you to purchase those kicker and defense rankings for $10,000. But if you fit the profile of an individual that the Fantasy Flock Network thinks you'd be able to use those correctly in, they do send an owl, like it's Harry Potter, to your door, and you'll get like an official little envelope, and you'll have to go through, fill your information out, send it back to us. But you'll definitely know if you fall in that line. You probably don't. Okay, so Derek Carr goes 110. I don't even know what to expect after this. What the hell do we want? God dang. Why do y'all have to do it to us like this? Rondell Moore goes 111. Looks like we're not taking a wide receiver. This team on the clock, they went Tolbert in the last round. They take Jalen Tolbert at 105. I understand the thought process with that situation just being beautiful in Dallas, but as I've said time and time again, let's just take 100 steps back and let's look at the fact that you are drafting a wide receiver that stayed 4 years at South Alabama. You're drafting a rookie wide receiver that is a late breakout. That is a late declare out of South Alabama. I can't do it. I can't endorse it. You take freaking Jalen Tolbert before Garrett Wilson. Redonkulous. But here we're going to get Matthew Stafford. No, we don't have a stack with Matthew Stafford. Yes, we can get Van Jefferson later on. Yes, we can get Tyler Higbee later on. Yes, we can draft Odell Beckham Jr. and say, okay, if he signs with Los Angeles, we're in a good spot later on. But Stafford's going to be the clear play. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to reach on one of those wide receivers? Do you want me taking freaking Julio Jones here? I'm not taking Julio Jones here. We're going to take Stafford. We'll only have to draft 2 quarterbacks. And we'll be able to get some of those stacks in the following rounds. But Devin Singletary falls down to 119. Remember, you used to have Devin Singletary going a full round before James Cook. Singletary used to go before James Cook. So people asking, oh, why do you draft early? Why should I get in these drafts early? So you can take advantage of value like that. It's very simple. Go and take advantage of that ridiculous value. Okay. So John says, do you have to deposit money in Underdog to get free draft rankings? Yeah, I've had a couple people email me going, okay, Mason, I downloaded Underdog. Oh, where do I see the rankings? And I find out that they didn't even make a deposit, and that's why they can't see anything. So not only do you have to go through the link in the live chat, the link in the description of the video, to go sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK and make a minimum of a $10 deposit, then you get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, and a 100% deposit match up to $100. And you get to have some fun and draft with these teams in the live stream with us. But no, it's not you just download the app and then automatically have them. Okay. But at this point, we can't take Justin Fields. We can't take Darrell Henderson. I guess, are just going to go with one of these. You know what? No, we're not taking a New England Patriot wide receiver. We're going to go with Michael Gallup. We're going to do exactly what we said we were going to do once we drafted Dak Prescott. We are going to get that double stack here in Dallas. We are going to get a wide receiver that, in my opinion, has an elite level ceiling in weeks 15, 16, and 17. And yeah, I think we're fine bringing him in as our wide receiver 4. I mean, maybe if Godwin isn't ready to go by the beginning of the season and we have the increased production during that time period for for Russell Gage with Chris Godwin being out, then we can overcome the fact that Michael Gallup is not going to be playing the beginning of the season, and we can sneak this team to that fantasy football playoff tournament where obviously we're drafting Gallup for his elite level ceiling during there. Okay, let's scroll this down. And we have Justin Fields, 132. Okay, Benson coming out and, again, throwing some names out there, people I've never heard. Okay. You're just confusing me. If there's a joke I'm missing out on, please fill me in. I like jokes, my man. I love jokes. But Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson off the board here, 131, 133. I think we probably... I don't want to say anything right now. Let's wait until we're actually on the clock. Maybe this team right before us decides to go Tua Tagovailoa. They have no quarterback. No, this isn't the team that took Waddle. Yeah, the team at 136 is the team that took Jalen Waddle. Eber coming out says, Underdog isn't available in my country. Sad days. Gross on Russell Gage. Pick 104. I agree it's gross. I'm sorry we had to do it, but I had to take a wide receiver. I'm sorry, my friend. But thank you, of course, for the support. I appreciate you. And we are going to go Pat Freiermuth here. We're going to get that second tight end. We're not going to have to draft another tight end now. I understand they have the same bye week. I'll sacrifice the freaking 12 points that week so we can have possibly a unique combination when we get to weeks of 15, 16, and 17. I think that when we take Freiermuth, he's a good enough tight end that, hell, we are done. Now, in round 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, we are going to go ahead and just fire away at wide receivers. So far, our wide receiver core is about the weakest thing you could ever imagine. Like, let's go through and let's look at this. We have Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, Russell Gage, and Michael Gallup. Like, dear God, that's disgusting. Now, we have elite level running backs for sure with Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery. We have a pretty strong tight end core with a combination of Dalton Schultz and Pat Freiermuth. We have respectable quarterbacks with a combination of Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford. So I think we have a good team. All we need is wide receiver value. We get wide receiver value on the way back around, we are going to be sitting pretty. Braden coming out, thank you, my friend, says, I'm in an 8-team league with 2 extra 5th-round picks. In a keeper league, how should I go about drafting? I pick at 1. Okay, Braden, please don't feel the need to donate to answer this question. Just let me know in the general chat, what are the starting lineup requirements for your 8-team format? In an 8-team league, you 100% need to be altering your draft strategy compared to a 12-team league. So please let me know those starting lineup requirements so I know exactly how to alter them for you. Okay. So Michael Carter goes 148. Tua Tagovailoa is still on the board. Ronald Jones off. Tua is about 16 picks beyond his ADP at this point. Selfishly, we want Tua Tagovailoa and Hunter Henry to get drafted here. We need wide receiver. This team on the clock has Allen at quarterback. They took Gesicki in the last round, so I'd imagine they take Tua here if they're getting that Tua value. They're not that strong at running back. Yeah, so they go Tua, pick 150. Rickster on the clock. They took Trevor Lawrence in the last round. Interesting pick on Lawrence. They go Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams was going to be one of the wide receivers we were looking for. If we don't get him, we're going to take someone that we have his jersey hanging up in our studio. The only jersey we have hanging up right now is going to be that KJ Hamler one. Now, I said if Courtland Sutton's a top 10 wide receiver, I'm sadly going to have to hang his up as well. We are going to have to buy a Courtland Sutton jersey, but we'll hopefully not have to do that. But OBS Destroyer saying he took this draft already. Let me real quick, before we look at your draft, my friend, try to find Braden's message in the general chat. He says, 3 wide receivers with 1 flex, 2 running backs, and 1 tight end. Okay, so if you're playing in an 8-team format, even though you have to start 3 wide receivers and not 2, just think about it. This is going to be a league where receivers are not going to matter. 24 wide receivers are going to be started on a week-to-week basis across your league. And if we're looking at that flex spot, because it's only an 8-team league, I can tell you 9 times out of 10, you're going to be sliding your running back in that flex. Because there are only 16 running backs started across the league that you're playing in. So I'm assuming that enough people are going to have solid running backs. Guys like, we can scroll way up to see who are going to be on benches. Chase Edmonds will be on a bench. Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be on a bench. Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, even Elijah Mitchell may be on a bench in an 8-team format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prioritize grabbing an elite level tight end. I'm going to push those running backs up my draft boards. Like if you look at our overall rankings, whether you got those rankings on flockfantasy.com or through Underdog, you need to be dramatically pushing the running backs up compared to where we have those wide receivers. Okay, Daniel Jones off the board. So after we take Hamler, let's go ahead. We're just taking shots on high upside wide receivers. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, I know a lot of people are burned off of Rondale Moore, the smaller wide receiver last year that didn't get it done for a lot of people. But Rondale Moore, Wan'Dale, just because Rondale failed doesn't mean Wan'Dale's going to. I think it's a good pick, a good player if we're looking at his collegiate profile. We need some upside shots at wide receiver. I think this will be one of those guys we're looking at. And real quick, guys, we are, I believe, 50 likes away from firing up another draft after this one. So if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in the live stream, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get in our next draft, go to the link in the live chat, go to the link in the description of the video. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy so they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, and you have a ton of fun in these drafts with us every single night on the live stream. And yes, we are going to see if the $250 draft lobby is almost filled after this one. And if it is almost filled, then we'll draft a $250 team after this. If not, we'll do a $5. We'll figure it out. Danny says, any help you can give for auction leagues? Auction leagues, one reason I don't necessarily cover them on the channel, they are more dependent on your league settings than any other fantasy football format you're going to find. Please sit there with an Excel spreadsheet. Look at how many roster spots you have. Look at how many starting lineup spots you have. Look at how many teams are in your league. Go through the player pool. create some tiers. Please have a full understanding of the nuances of your league settings if you're going to be participating in an auction. Uzi coming out, thank you, says, being offered Bateman for Kareem Hunt. He also has DK Metcalf. Should I ask for DK? I would definitely trade Kareem Hunt for DK Metcalf if that's going to be on the table in a PPR format. If it's going to be a dynasty league, yeah, I would take Bateman for Hunt no matter what. If it's going to be in a shallow, casual, or redraft format where you can only start, say, 2 wide receivers and 1 flex spot, their wide receivers, especially in a low passing volume offense, aren't going to matter that much. Or I probably would prefer just Hunt in the upside that he could potentially get traded before the season. So it is going to matter about the format that you're playing in. Dynasty, yes, take Bateman. Shallow, casual, or redraft, maybe you want to sit on Hunt for a little bit and see what happens with the potential trade. Okay, so Corey Davis goes 170. If Higbee were to make it back to us, we possibly go Higbee. There's one player we really want. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Come on. Ghosted wide receiver says, Yo, Mason, are you almost filled up with puppy drafts? The contest's going to be filled in a couple days. Sadly not. Let me look at how many spots I have left in these puppy drafts. Like, trust me, I want to max them out. I don't think we're going to be able to, though. Like, they're just filling way too fast. Like, right now, I have a total of 86 puppy teams drafted, and this one will be my 87th. And the puppy is 80% filled. So that's why I want to get a ton of drafts going on the live stream tonight. Guys, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We get sniped on Van Jefferson, pick 174. That 100% sucks. Oh, that really does suck. If Higbee falls, we go ahead, we take Tyler Higbee. The reason being is you could have Tyler Higbee, one of any of these tight ends, slide into our flex spot for us on a week-to-week basis as well. So this is going to be a tight end build where we take 3 guys. I want some correlation here with Matthew Stafford. This is still a team that is desperately searching for a wide receiver, but if we have those 3 respectable tight ends, I think that we could potentially get away with having one of those tight ends in our flex spot every single week at the same time. So we'll see. GG says, is there going to be a puppy 4? Guys, I wish I knew. I wish I was important enough for Underdog to fill me in on those decisions. Trust me. I wish I was. But sadly, it's above my pay grade. So I'm hoping that we get a puppy 4. Maybe not. That's why I'm trying to get in as many of these puppy drafts as I possibly can right now. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones goes 181. Not great for us. I was going to hope that we got Donovan Peoples-Jones on the way back around. Clearly, we still need wide receivers. We're going to draft 9 wide receivers on this team. We have Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, Russell Gage, Michael Gallup, KJ Hamler, and Wan'Dale Robinson. We're going to take whoever we get between Fuller and Sammy Watkins. This team on the clock has 8 wide receivers as is. Their 4 running backs are Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard, Damian Harris. I'd imagine they go running back here. Yeah, they take the rookie running back for Kansas City. Someone I have not drafted at all. Like, let me pull up his profile. Say running back that came out of Rutgers, drafted with the 30th pick in the 7th round. A good athlete, but horrendous production. Horrendous production. Fuller off the board. We are going to go ahead. We're going to take Sammy Watkins. I like the idea of betting on Watkins in that. If you don't know, I fell in love with Dynasty Fantasy Football back in 2014. That's when I started playing fantasy football obsessively 365 days a year. Sammy Watkins was a part of that 2014 NFL draft class. So I fell in love with a lot of those 2014 wide receivers. Guys like Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson. There were so many top end wide receivers in that 2014 class. Like Odell Beckham Jr. was there as well. I have an Odell Beckham Jr. Giants jersey. I have a Sammy Watkins Buffalo Bills jersey. They're guys I want to root for. And at the same time, he's a part of an elite level offense. If he can make the team, if he can go out there and see some random spike weeks, he could be fine for this construction and this roster in particular. Okay. So let's scroll this back around. Braden says, context, I traded my keepers for more picks and now don't have any keepers. Best I'll get in my first 2 rounds are Kamara or DeAndre Swift or an Aaron Jones and Javonte Williams. Yeah, you have to go through. You have to take the 2 running backs, especially if you don't have any keepers. I'd imagine the majority of people in your keeper league ended up keeping those running backs, considering how shallow the league is with that 8-team draft. But because it's an 8-team draft, there's still going to be very capable players there for you to be able to take. But Marcus Mariota goes 197. Let's move this down. Oh, crap. Did David Bell go? Yeah, David Bell went. David Bell is my favorite pick to have here in the 17th, 18th round. He ended up going at pick 188. That definitely sucks. I love the value that you would get with the David Bell in the 17th round. What was the report on AJ Green? Okay, to profit from DeAndre Hopkins being out. Of course. That's why he's being drafted in the first place. Okay, so in our draft in particular, we have like a KJ Hamler that's going to miss the beginning portion. We have a Michael Gallup that's going to miss the beginning portion of the season. A Wan'Dale Robinson that's not going to be productive at the beginning of the year. So maybe we just draft AJ Green, say, okay, well, if we take AJ Green here, he can give us production at the beginning of the season until Michael Gallup comes back from his injury, and then Michael Gallup can potentially let us have access to a high enough ceiling. But let's make that pick. We'll queue up our last few wide receivers, and then I'm going to go through and hop into a $250 big dog draft. Let's get in here. We are in the $250 draft on Underdog Fantasy. There are only 3 spots left. So we're going to wait here. We are going to draft in this $250 league. So I apologize if it takes a little time to fill, but never mind. It's filled. It looks like we are going. Give us something good. Give us 4 or 5. 4 or 5. What was I talking about earlier today? I was talking about these $250 drafts on Underdog Fantasy probably having, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, because if you just think about it, if you were the best fantasy football player in the world, where do you play? You play where you can get the most money down with the smallest time commitment possible. That's going to be these high stakes drafts on Underdog. So I am going to be a below average drafter here. 100%. These guys have an edge over me. I'm the donkey in this draft room. I already knew that coming in. But to see the fact that there are a total of 9 teams here with experience badges. I'm going to have to go change my pants. This is going to be tough, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. If you got every fantasy football YouTuber, podcaster, article, typer, ranker, if you got every fantasy football expert together in a room, they're probably not as good as this draft right here. Not as good as these high stakes crushers, but we'll see if we can make some noise. You have CMC going here at pick 3. You have a team at 2 going Cooper Kupp. Oh, dear God. Let's see if we have any crazy selections in this $250 draft. Oh, this is going to be tough. Jayan is in here with us. Jayan at pick 9. Let's see what he decides to do. You have Derrick Henry at 5 in the $250 draft. So it looks like Derrick Henry is going higher in these high stakes drafts than you may have in those casual leagues. Austin Eckler falls to 8 here. Let's see what Jayan decides to do. Knowing Jayan, I'm assuming he goes wide receiver. I'm assuming we see a Derek Carr selection. I can't be certain. He goes Dalvin Cook. Okay, so he goes Dalvin over Carr. CeeDee Lamb goes at 10. We're going to go Davante Adams at 11. Davante Adams at 11. I don't know exactly how much these drafters are going to push up wide receivers, but to see I was inverted, taking CeeDee Lamb there at 10, I think we maybe just want to go ahead and take Davante Adams. Are we getting Najee Harris here? Yeah, we'll take Najee Harris, Davante Adams to start it off. Our first $250 draft of the season of the live stream. Starting off with Davante Adams and Najee Harris through the first 2 rounds. Very balanced approach. Ever coming out says, how much can you apply best ball strategies for redraft? I root for the donkey. I would say watching these real money fantasy football drafts for your redraft format is probably going to help you more than almost anything else. You obviously need to know to adjust once you get to those double digit rounds in your casual redraft format. You need to be sliding up the running backs compared to the wide receivers, because guys like KJ Hamler in your casual fantasy football format are never going to help you. You also need to know that you're not drafting a second tight end. You're not drafting a second quarterback. Of course, there are adjustments to be making, but all in all, at the end of the day, it's a real money fantasy football draft. Real United States dollars on the line. And Leonard Fournette at pick 19. Okay. Okay, guys. Let's see. Javonte Williams at 20. So this looks completely different than those $5 drafts on Underdog. Like the draft right before this, we took Leonard Fournette, what, at pick 27, 28? Javonte Williams usually goes to the third round as well. Okay, this is exciting. And real quick, we haven't said this draft, but of course, if you want to get into these real money fantasy football drafts with us, you don't have to do the $250 drafts with us. You can do the $5 drafts. But go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the live chat. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with just a $10 deposit on Underdog. So make sure you go take advantage of that. And if you really want to take advantage of a free way to make money, is you can go enter these $250 drafts with a donkey like myself and take money directly from my pocket. Yeah. So now we have Kamara 21, Chubb going 23. These running backs actually sliding up draft boards right now. Yeah, Mike Evans now falling to the third round. This is the first time in months, and I repeat, months, that I've seen Mike Evans fall to the third round. You have Aaron Jones and Mike Evans at the 2-3 turn here. Mr. Steph says, Mason, in a puppy draft, do you think it's stupid to take Antonio Brown in the last round if he's somewhere signs? No, I do not think it's stupid. Personally, I don't necessarily do it because I don't want people screenshotting me and clowning me on Twitter. But if I did not have the fantasy flock attached to my name, I would be doing stuff like that very often. I'd be taking 18th round Calvin Ridley. I'd be taking 18th round Sammy Watkins. Cheeky Hobson says, tomorrow night, nothing but $250 drafts. I don't know if I could afford nothing but $250 drafts, but we'll probably get another one going tomorrow night. And of course, if y'all are enjoying these drafts, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel. We do this every single night. We'll get a 24-hour live stream going if, and I repeat, if we hit 90,000 subscribers on the channel. So please make sure you drop a like, help us get recommended to a new viewer, help us hit that 90,000 subs. But now we have T. Higgins falling to pick 30. Justin Herbert off the board at 29. Okay, I'll say this. That team at 5 doesn't know what they're doing. Take Henry in the first, Javonte in the second, Herbert now in the third. We can mark that team. I may not be the biggest donkey in this draft room. I am not the biggest donkey in the room. We can see someone else that is. OMG starting off strong with Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown at pick 31. You have to be very excited about that A.J. Brown selection at 31. I think here, Allen at 32 is going to be interesting. I wouldn't have been dying to take Allen there. Let's see what JN does. What did JN do in the second round? He took Joe Mixon in the second. He paired up Mixon and Dalvin. What is he doing here? Jane decides to go James Conner. Jane going with the hyper fragile build. We are going to get DJ Moore here at the end of the third. I'm very excited about this DJ Moore selection. In my opinion, this DJ Moore selection is a legitimate no-brainer. Oh my gosh. Guys, this is a good draft. This is a better draft than our $5 drafts we had going earlier today. Jonas says Team 1 has already won. Yeah, Team 1 has a very good start. But now that we have Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton going off the board, we're going to take Jalen Waddle. We're going to get our third wide receiver in here. Hell, if I'm drafting Jalen Waddle nonstop in those $5 drafts, you better believe we're going to be taking him here. Jayen's still passing on wide receivers. Jayen, are you lighting your $250 on fire? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Alberto says, you really going to pick DJ Moore over Courtland Sutton? I am shocked. Guys, the issue is, I've already talked about this. I have Courtland Sutton in every single league. I have Courtland Sutton in every single draft. I have to diversify somewhat. I don't know if I've taken DJ Moore in a single draft so far this year. So we'll diversify slightly. We will decide to go DJ Moore over Sutton. But dear God. Jordan says we should have taken Mike Williams. Jordan, here's what I'm going to need you to do. I'm going to need you to get better internet connection and then go to the little top corners on your YouTube screen, hit the dots, and then go to change your resolution and change it to HD resolution so you can see that Mike Williams went at pick 35 and I was pick 30. I'm sorry, Mike Williams went at pick 34 and I was pick 35. Okay. Now we have that team at 5 going with Patrick Mahomes with the Herbert build, truly punting their $250. Truly punting their $250. We have Brandon Cooks, pick 47. Oh my gosh. Guys, we have a great start, but I am worried that Team 5's going rogue. I am truly worried that Team 5's going rogue. Terry McLaurin makes it to pick 48. Look at Team 1. This is a $250 draft. Team 1 goes Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones at running back, and at wide receiver has Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin. Team 1 has won this. Team 1, take my $250. Take it. You already won. How the hell did you create this? They get Ezekiel Elliott, pick 49. Team 1 could be auto-drafting right now. And just based on the value that's fallen to them, they have easily the best team in the league, and it's not even remotely close. Oh, I'm so jealous. Barber Shack, I see you, my man. Oh, this is wild. J.K. Dobbins goes pick 51. Dobbins would have been a player we would have taken at the end of the 5th round. Y'all know that. Y'all know I'm going after Dobbins where we can. George Kittle goes to Derek here in the 5th. You have Hollywood Brown falling. DeAndre Hopkins goes before Hollywood in this draft. Jayen's going to get some wide receiver value falling if he wants it. Maybe he continues to go hyper fragile. Big Marley on the clock. What did the crazy team do? What was the crazy team? The crazy team's the one that goes DeAndre Hopkins, pick 53. Very interesting that they decided to do that. I have a couple plans. Okay, first, plan A. Get a player I'm very excited about here. Hollywood Brown would have been one of those guys. Now that he's off the board, plan A is not looking as likely. Plan B, you're going to watch and you're going to like it. Don't you worry. Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's another name that I would have really liked. Hawkberg on the clock. This team's gone Allen, Eckler, Gabriel Davis, and Mark Andrews through the first 4 rounds so far. Real quick, guys, we are about to pass 1,000 people watching this live stream. This is a $250 draft. If you have not done so, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we're live. That way you can come out here, draft with me, and take my money. Cam Akers, DK Metcalf off the board. So looks like we are going to go ahead. We are going to take Kyler Murray here at pick 59. Okay. Love this. Love this. Johnny Bags on the clock. This is a team that goes Swift and then the Denver players with Sutton and Judy. Then Travis Kelce. I'm assuming maybe this team going for that week 17 correlation. I'm not necessarily overly thinking week 16, week 17 correlation. I still want to get team stacks on my roster, of course, but in terms of bringbacks, I think people are actually overrating those in a vacuum. Darnell Mooney goes 60. Come on. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know. I'm assuming y'all don't know who I even want here. Johnny Bags taking it down. I don't know if they're watching the clock. That's why I'm not saying exactly who I want. If it was a $5 draft, trust me, I would say who I wanted. I would say who I wanted. But it's a $250 draft. I got to be quiet. Amon-Ra St. Brown off the board. We're going to go through. We're going to take Jalen Hurts. In my opinion, it is a no-brainer to go through to grab the double elite level quarterbacks here at the 5-6 turn. Looking at the rogue drafter at pick 5, I have done enough of my fair share of these drafts to know when you see that rogue drafter potentially going Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd and 4th round, that this is a crazy person. They could potentially go with a 3rd quarterback. So when we have 2 of the top, say, 6 quarterbacks in fantasy on the same roster, another team has the number 2 and 3 or 2 and 4, however you look at it, quarterbacks on the same roster, these guys are going to go up draft boards. I know people wanted us to go David Montgomery. I get it. Guys, this ain't my first rodeo. I've dealt with these rogue drafters before. I think we made the right call. Let's see where these quarterbacks go off the board. I'm expecting that we have a decent amount of quarterbacks sliding up. You have Trey Lance at pick 66, Joe Burrow at pick 67. What was I telling y'all? This is not my first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. I've done this before. I've been out here in the streets for a long time. Now, Jayen decides to go David Montgomery here at pick 64. So Montgomery finally finds a home to a team that started 3 running backs in a row with Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, James Conner, and now David Montgomery. Now he goes ahead. He takes Treylon Burks at pick 68. Interesting to see him go Treylon Burks. Looks like we have a little bit of a run on wide receiver here happening. In reality, these are just the best values on the board. It's not even close here at the end of the 6th round with Treylon Burks, Michael Thomas, Drake London, Adam Thielen, and Elijah Moore. At this point, what we're really hoping for is we're hoping that we get Tom Brady. We're hoping that we get Dak Prescott off the board. Slide these elite level quarterbacks up. Blind Luck Poker says, why do you need 2 elite level quarterbacks if you're only starting 1? Because it's best ball, essentially. When we do this, we're going to unlock another roster spot for us, and we essentially guarantee ourselves a quarterback that's going to put up 30 points every single week. Like, it's something that I didn't truly understand the importance of last offseason, and that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made. Is that if you're looking at correlation between projections and actual fantasy points coming into the season, the quarterback position is going to be the most strongly correlated, and those other guys that are going later on, they simply don't have the same access to 35 points any given week that a Kyler Murray or a Jalen Hurts would. Okay. Russell Wilson goes pick 76, and we're really hoping we see a Tom Brady. We're really hoping that we see a Dak Prescott off the board. Josh Jacobs makes it to 78 here. You have to love that Josh Jacobs value at pick 78. There's still a lot of intriguing players for us on the way back around. Antonio Gibson goes 79. Kadarius Toney, 80. Come on. Jayen on the clock. Let's see what he decides to do. He's gone 4 running backs with Dalvin Mixon, James Conner, David Montgomery. So Jayen has to be done drafting a running back. At least in my opinion, I think when you go with those 4 guys, you're done drafting a running back. You got to catch up a quarterback, got to catch up a wide receiver, got to catch up not necessarily a tight end. He has Darren Waller. He goes Devonta Smith. Smith would have been the guy I would have been very excited about getting a pick 81. Okay, so I was inverted, knows that we can't take another quarterback. He goes Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk would have been the player that I would have been very excited about drafting. This point, let's sit here and think about it. Do we go ahead? Do we take our 4th wide receiver and then load up on a running back on the way back around? I think that's probably what we do, because if we look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think CEH, in my opinion, is going to be just as appealing as some of these other running backs with Tony Pollard and Miles Sanders. So let's grab Christian Kirk here at pick 83, and then we're going to just get one of these 3 guys. I'm probably going to prefer that top guy to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but we'll see. I'd imagine CEH is going to make it back to us. I'd imagine that if this team here in Johnny Bags decides to go running back, they are going to end up going with a Tony Pollard and potentially a Miles Sanders. They go Brady at 84. Pollard, 85. Spam the chat. Who do you want, Miles Sanders or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? It's up to you. You spam the chat. I'm letting y'all have this one. I think that we can't use any tiebreakers with our actual roster. Actually, no. F me. We have Jalen Hurts. We're taking Miles Sanders. Thank God we didn't just take Clyde Edwards-Helaire right away, because I really like CEH. Thank God we actually sat here and thought about it a little bit. I understand that with Jalen Hurts, you're drafting him betting on the fact that you want him to have some rushing touchdowns at the goal line. You want him to be able to vulture Miles Sanders some. So maybe the correlation isn't nearly as strong as what you would have with a standard passing down running back and a stationary quarterback that's going to be willing to dump the ball off. But regardless, I think if we're going to be looking at this, I am completely fine going ahead and drafting Miles Sanders, hopefully getting some receiving down usage between him and Jalen Hurts. Dak Prescott goes directly after pick 87. Clyde Edwards-Helaire makes it all the way down to 90. So JN decided to double tap the tight end position with the combination of Darren Waller and Hawkinson. But, I like this draft. I really like this draft. No, maybe y'all aren't going to be a big fan of it, but it is what it is. I think we are the number one team in the league at quarterback. I think we have not the worst running back core ever with the combination of Najee Harris and Miles Sanders. And we have a pretty good core wide receivers with Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Christian Kirk. So I think this is very exciting. Now we have Rashad Penny, Kareem Hunt, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris all off the board. I'm very balanced at this point. I mean, if we get wide receivers making it back to us at pick 107, I'll be fine taking a receiver there. I'll be fine taking a running back. I'll be fine. Not necessarily tight end. There's only one tight end in that range that I would actually look at. The majority of those guys I'm going to be off of. Mark Award says, you'll be so glad to have Jalen Hurts after Call of Duty is released this year. Yeah, but I'm thinking once Call of Duty's released, I'm just going to shoot him a DM. I'm going to say, hey, Kyler, my man, please, I'll give you half the winnings. It's a $250 draft. It's $100,000 for first. I'll give you $50,000 if you bring us to the promised land. I'll shoot him that DM. Hopefully we can keep him off COD. Hopefully we can keep him being the quarterback one, as he usually is at the beginning of the season. Now, Robert Woods goes 97, Dallas Goedert 98. Dallas Goedert would have been the only player we would have actually looked at the tight end position at pick 107. Now that Goddard's off the board, actually, F me. I guess maybe we're taking Zach Ertz. We took Kyler Murray. Yeah, I guess we're probably going to go ahead and be the guy taking Zach Ertz. I usually don't like Zach Ertz and his overall value, but I guess maybe this would be the one draft that we want to take him in. Garrett Wilson goes 99. It is early for Garrett Wilson, but I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I mean, Garrett Wilson's just a smash value in these drafts. Gage on the board. With a rogue drafter on the clock, he decides to go Kenneth Walker at pick 101. Derek Carr goes off the board 102. Interesting that Matthew Stafford's been falling this far with the injury. Like, I understand maybe you want to use it as a tiebreaker, but I have found myself drafting a decent amount of Matthew Stafford as of late. Like, hell, if you think Matthew Stafford is this worrisome, you probably shouldn't be taking Cooper Kupp in the top 5 rounds if you are this worried about that injury with Matthew Stafford, because he has been consistently falling behind someone like a Derek Carr. Okay. Now we have Tyler Lockett 103. I think at this point would be fine with one of these running backs making it to us at 107. JN can't take a running back. I mean, obviously, he's a grown-ass man. He can do whatever he wants. I'm assuming he's not taking a running back, given the fact that he's gone through taking Dalvin, Mixon, Connor, and Montgomery. Yeah, so he goes Stafford. I was inverted on the clock. They go Claypool. So we're going to take James Cook here as our running back 3, getting that passing down running back here that has the elite level ceiling in weeks 15, 16, and 17. I am excited about that, and I'm assuming that we're going to end up with Zach Ertz on the way back around. Now, trust me, I'm not a fan of Zach Ertz. I think if you're looking at tight ends at the very end of the draft, they're going to be comparable. But at the same time, we have to take someone from Arizona. We took Kyler Murray. So it's either we draft Zach Ertz here or Rondale Moore. April coming out says, Debo was a beast last year. Why isn't he being drafted higher? Because Debo Samuel had 8 rushing touchdowns. It's one of the primary reasons that Debo Samuel was an elite level wide receiver last year. And with Trey Lance coming over, you're assuming that maybe the target distribution is a little bit different, where he's looking for Brandon Ayuk a little bit further downfield. And at the same time, we can assume that he vultures some of those rushing touchdowns at the goal line. So that's why Debo Samuel's going later than where he finished last season. And I can't necessarily come out here and scream, oh, Debo Samuel's the best value ever in fantasy drafts. I mean, if you wanted to take Debo Samuel in the middle of the second round, I'm not going to argue against it. But personally, just not going to be my guy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Zach Ertz at pick 110. Like I said, the guys like Zach Ertz, Dawson Knox, To be completely honest, I'm not a massive fan of these tight ends here. But the only reason we do it is because we have Kyler Murray. We want some kind of correlation to this Arizona Cardinals offense. So if we do have some spike weeks at the very end of the season from Kyler, we can definitely take advantage in a couple different ways. So we have Tyler Boyd going pick 112. Okay, so we had some people telling us to go Rondale Moore. I'm not a massive Rondale Moore guy. I did definitely like him coming out of the NFL draft last season. But his rookie year was bad. And I repeat, it was bad. Like, for him to overcome that and to be able to have that bounce back in year 2. I think Zach Ertz probably outscores Rondale Moore. And it's harder to get tight end points, of course. Now, we have Kirk Cousins going 117. That's going to be good for us. The rogue drafter decides to go Mecole Hardman 116. Looks like he is back on path. Looks like he is drafting players that are at least in a respectable range. Going with Rashad Penny at 92. Rashad Penny, I don't like it 92, but I mean, that's where his ADP is. Kenneth Walker at 101. This is before his ADP, but I actually really like the pick. Mecole Hardman at 116. I mean, hell, what else you're going to do? I kind of feel like you're in no man's land at that point. You can't take one of those quarterbacks in either Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins because you already had Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. So very, very interesting. Mr. Klatt says Rondale Moore or Andy Isabella. Oh, I love hearing those names. Like bringing up names like Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, just names that you haven't heard in a couple of years that used to be conversation, just pieces of 20 long combos on Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, on Dynasty Fantasy Football videos, obviously NFL Draft Darlings. I love hearing those names. Blast from the past. Like, Devontae Parker goes 123. CW taxes Cecil Shorts. I'll do you one better. What about Jalen Hurd? Hey, y'all remember Jalen Hurd? Oh my gosh. I was so excited about the man. Okay. Now, Alexander Madison goes 125. This team that's back on the clock, they've already done their part in stacking the Chiefs offense. Maybe they go with a Charger here. No, they do not go with the Charger. They don't take Isaiah Spiller. They don't take Joshua Palmer. If Darrell Henderson off the board as well, I feel like we have such a balanced team. It doesn't really matter what makes it back to us. It would be good for us to get like Justin Fields off the clock. Like Justin Fields goes, then just going to slide up another quarterback a little bit later on. Of course, we want quarterbacks sliding up when we take Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts here. Dog says Devin Funchess, Jay Ajayi. Yeah, those guys actually did something in the NFL. I mean, someone like Jalen Hurts, someone like Andy Isabella, they never did anything at all. Cole Kmet goes off the board. Let's see what we do. Kenny Golladay, 128. Fields, 129. Nolan says, how do we let the 101 get stacked running backs, wide receivers, and the most accurate quarterback in the NFL? You're kidding me. The 101 came away with Tua. We're toast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are straight up toast. We will look at that right after we make our picks. But of course, thank you for the support, Nolan. And yeah, the 101 team is just freaking nasty. At least they were through the first like 5-6 rounds. I haven't been paying attention since then. We're going to go Gallup here, pick 131. I think Gallup has an elite level ceiling. I think here with Michael Gallup, weeks 15, 16, 17, you could see those massive spike weeks from the Dallas Cowboys offense. So after this pick, we'll see what these teams decide to do on the turn. Honestly, probably going to grab another player for that playoff stretch. They go Jahan Dotson. So we're going to take Christian Watson. It's a player that continues to fall. I drafted Christian Watson in my $500 draft. I drafted Christian Watson in my $1,000 draft. And now we are now taking Christian Watson in the $250 draft. But let's go through. Let's check out that team for the 101 because they had a ridiculous, and I repeat, a ridiculous start to this. Taylor, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott at running back. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine coming away with that running back core? at pick 124 and 49. Beautiful. I'm extremely jealous of that. And then going over to wide receiver, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Elijah Moore. I'm not a massive Dalton Schultz guy, but like hell, if you were going to take another player, it would probably be A.J. Dillon or Josh Jacobs. Like, I'd probably take Jacobs over Schultz, but it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. Sky Moore, 96. Robert Woods, 97. Julio, and then Tua Tagovailoa, 121. Now, this Tua pick is the one selection that I don't understand. You didn't take Tyreek Hill. Why do you feel the need to take Tua here? Is it just that we took two of those top quarterbacks and that other team decided to take two of the top quarterbacks and they were afraid of being boxed out of any valuable guys? But still, if you don't have the stack, when you're drafting Tua, you're betting that there's passing volume in Miami. You're betting that the passing volume in Miami's there. Derek says he likes his team better than the 101. Let's go through and let's check out Derek's team. If y'all don't know, guys, if you were just now coming in here, this is a $250 fantasy football draft. This is a high stakes fantasy football draft. And Derek drew pick 4. He drew possibly my favorite pick. Very, very jealous about that. He gets Justin Jefferson round 1, Alvin Kamara 2, Pitts, Etienne, George Kittle. I did not even notice you decided to pair together Pitts and Kittle. I need to be paying more attention to this. Maybe that would have made me even more excited about drafting Zach Ertz, assuming that these tight ends slide up. But then Michael Thomas pick 69. Of course, that's absolutely wild value. Russell Wilson, 76. Okay, so I'm assuming Derek's just completely off Jacobs here. Maybe you did it because we went crazy with quarterbacks. The other team went crazy with quarterbacks. But Hunt, 93, really like that pick. Gage, 100. Personally, I probably go Lockett, but it is what it is. Cousins, 117 to get the stack with Jefferson. And I know what you're probably looking at is that now triple stack with Alexander Mattison and KJ Osborne later on. Not going to lie to you, Derek. I like the 101 more. I like the 101 more. Yeah, and then that team at the 101 didn't even take Mike Gesicki here at the turn. Very interesting that they decided to go through and pass on Gesicki. Yeah, Thomas says 101 fell off. 101 was handed a gift from God, and then they just threw it in the trash. Obviously, I'm being dramatic. The only pick I don't like is that Tua Tagovailoa pick, but it is what it is. This is what I was telling you all about, guys. Everybody that hated my selections of Hurts and Kyler Murray, you owe me an apology. We're going to go look at what just happened. But y'all are going to owe me an apology because these quarterbacks are about to fly. Okay, this is splendid. This is exactly what we're looking for. Like, Freiermuth goes 151. Hochberg on the clock. They took Allen, so they have no pressure at all to go quarterback. They also took Andrews at tight end, so they have no pressure at all to go tight end. Let's see what they decide to do. They go Nico Collins, 152. Okay, Jay in on the clock. He has Stafford, Fields at quarterback. He's done at tight end with Waller and Hawkinson. I'd imagine he's slamming in wide receiver value. He decides to go George Pickens, 153. Michael Carter goes 154. We're just going to get a running back that we know is going to have a role. We just are going to get a running back that will put up fantasy points. We'll take Nyheim Hines here. I don't love Nyheim Hines at his ADP, but we're getting Hines 20 picks behind his ADP. And then we'll see what this team, Johnny Bags, decides to do at pick 156 and 157. There are two players that I really want. There are two players that I'd be excited about drafting. The other guys, kind of whatever. Dear God. Johnny Bags takes it down. He goes Jarvis Landry. I don't know if that was an auto draft. I feel like he's been just queuing players up and then letting the clock run down this entire draft. It is a little bit annoying that we have to go through and we have to sit here and deal with this, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, after this, see what he's doing here. There's one player left. One player left that I'd be excited about. He goes Wan'Dale. So we're going to get Jameson Williams. We have 3 wide receivers at the very end of our bench here that aren't going to be productive at the beginning of the season, but 4 teams advance to the playoffs here. I'm looking for these guys that specifically have elite level ceilings for weeks 15, 16, and 17. That's what I'm looking for in this draft. That's what I think we have. But look at that rogue drafter. I told y'all that I've done enough of these drafts. I've done over 500 drafts to recognize when a team goes crazy and they take a Justin Herbert and they take a Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd and 4th round, that while of course they should be done drafting quarterbacks, they just took 2 of the best level options, that sometimes they continue to go wild. They continue to lose their minds. And that's exactly what happened. They not only took Herbert and Mahomes, now you see them taking Tannehill at 149. We may see another quarterback pick. So when you have one team with Mahomes, Herbert, and Tannehill, quarterback ADP just goes out the window. Like, these quarterbacks are going to slide up draft boards. And JN says he's recovered after getting Pickens and Isaiah McKenzie. I definitely like the Robbie Anderson pick in just terms of getting raw targets there. 136. Matt Ryan goes 166. Interesting. But I think we made the right call. Going with the 2 elite level quarterbacks, I think we made the right call, getting running back and wide receiver value on the way back around. But now we're possibly done at wide receiver. And real quick, if y'all want to see another Real Money Fantasy Football draft after this, go down there, drop a like in the live stream. If we hit 1,000 likes in the live stream, we will fire up another draft. And of course, if you are not subscribed to the channel, fix your life. Go down there, hit that sub button, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live. We do these Real Money Fantasy Football drafts every single night on the live stream. But Higbee goes off the board 167. Van Jefferson 168. Higbee would have been a player I would have been excited about on the way back around. Remember, we only have 1 tight end. That tight end is Zach Ertz. We took him pretty early, but we still need to go through. I probably want to draft 2 more tight ends here. Winter Lead says, what do you do besides fantasy football? Is there anything else besides fantasy football? Realistically speaking, could you live a fulfilled life if you did not do fantasy football 24 hours a day, 365 days? I don't know if you could. Every second you're not playing fantasy football, every second you're not researching, talking fantasy football, it's a second you're not living, my friend. Now, Noah Fant goes 191. I'm assuming, Derek can't go another tight end. He decided to go Kyle Pitts and Kittle on the same team, which isn't a bad idea, but it's just at that point you can't take another. Okay. So now we have Marvin Jones here at pick 172. I don't even know if we want to add another wide receiver to this core. I mean, we have a very strong wide receiver core as is. We have Marvin Jones, Alec Pierce off the board. Mac Jones goes 175. So Watson is sitting there. Y'all know I would take a Mr. Deshaun Watson, but I know most people want it. Now, Evan Ingram off the board. Yeah, we just have to grab a tight end. It's an absolute no-brainer to just take Gerald Everett here. Like I was saying earlier, if we're not grabbing those elite level tight ends, I do want to draft 3 in a best ball format, because at the end of the day, these guys can also slide into your flex spot. And I think we will have enough wide receiver production to get through the beginning portion of the season with Adams, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Christian Kirk before we have hopefully one of our guys with an elite level ceiling, whether that's Michael Gallup, Christian Watson, or Jameson Williams, making it back near the end of the year. But Goff goes 180. Yeah, Goff, we're not interested in. There's one more player that I'd like. Let's see if we get him. If we get him, we've crushed this draft. We've absolutely crushed this draft. I doubt it. Johnny Bags, his 2 quarterbacks are Brady and Goff. His 4 running backs are Swift, Pollard, Singletary, and Rashad White. So very thin running back. Yeah, he goes J.D. McKissic. We're going to get our 3rd tight end here in Robert Tonyan. Guys, we have crushed this draft. I know maybe some of y'all won't like it. I love it. I love this draft. I mean, if we're going to go through, look across the board, this is a team that does have a lot of upside. I mean, this is a team that at wide receiver has Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Christian Kirk, Michael Gallup, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams. Now, keep in mind, in these drafts, 4 teams advance to the playoffs in every league. So you just have to be one of the top 4 teams in this 12-team league to advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. So I am going to be prioritizing weeks 15, 16, and 17, which is why we decided to draft guys like Gallup, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams at wide receiver. At quarterback, we have the 2 elite level guys with Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. At running back, we have Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, James Cook, Nyheim Hines. And at tight end, we have Zach Ertz, Gerald Everett, and Robert Tonyan. I really like this draft. Probably not even going to draft another wide receiver, if I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to go through and grab 2 more running backs. LOG says, don't forget Russell Wilson was picked at 75. In this, are you referring to this draft? Russell Wilson was taken at 76 in this one by Derek. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a little bit confused there. Now, Davis Mills goes 194, and we are 11 picks away from getting another draft going. So if y'all want to see another draft, I know it's a little bit late. If y'all don't want to see another one, it's fine. But if you do, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. That's all I ask. Drop that like. And we have Zamir White 195. Let's pull this back around. Of course, at this point, we're hoping that we get these tight ends off the board. We don't need a Hayden Hurst. We don't need an Austin Hooper. David Bell goes 196. Terrace Marshall goes 197. David Bell is one of those players that if he was going to make it back to us at the end of the 17th, the beginning of the 18th, we would go ahead and we would take him. But no, at this point, I think we just lock in 2 running backs. And yeah, 1,000 likes in the live stream. That is massive. Typher says, do you profit from your drafts every year? I will say yes. Up until this point, I have. The reason I started this YouTube channel in the first place is I started a Dynasty Fantasy Football channel in 2019 because I was just a Dynasty Fantasy Football crusher. Like, I crushed in Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues, winning a ridiculous amount. Dynasty is a little bit different where it's going to be a lot easier than drafting here. But we did that from 2019. We've had a positive ROI every single season. Now, on Underdog, I only have had 1 year drafting with a significant amount of volume, and that was last year. Yes, last year we made money, but it's way too small of a sample to say, oh, we made money last year. That means we're going to make money every year on Underdog. What I will say is, I also got very lucky. I was not drafting Derrick Henry last year. So through the first about 8 weeks of the season, it looked like Derrick Henry was going to put me in a body bag. It looked like Derrick Henry was going to make me bankrupt. But Derrick Henry goes down. We scoop a profit. So yes, I'll admit that we got lucky last year. But we get the 101 here. Jayan says, tell me how bad I did. Okay, Jayan, text me. Just text me. We'll talk about the draft afterwards. But I just won't be able to pull that up again. So now, at the 101, we've talked about this too much. Some people want CMC. I'm not going Christian McCaffrey. I'm just taking Jonathan Taylor. I'm keeping it simple. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Jonathan Taylor here. And I realize we probably made the mistake taking Jerick McKinnon in the last draft. It is what it is. It is what it is. If Jerick McKinnon doesn't make the team, that's going to be a very embarrassing pick. I've taken a decent amount of Jerick McKinnon as well. Yeah, that Jerick McKinnon pick. Now that I look back on it, that McKinnon pick was probably very, very bad. Okay. Now at the 101, I'm assuming this may be a draft where we try to get a little fancy with it. Maybe we try a hyper fragile build, something like what Jayan did in the last one. But we're going to go Taylor here at 1. CMC off the board at 2. Justin Jefferson at 3. So a very standard draft so far. It looks like this is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, y'all know now last draft, every single drafter had that experience badge next to their name. It's pretty scary. It was not a great environment to be drafting in. Here, we don't see any experience badges, but maybe we don't have a rogue drafter, so maybe it's a little bit harder. It's hard to tell. I mean, I think once we get about 3 rounds through this draft, we'll be able to tell if there are going to be anybody going crazy. Anybody letting us see value later on. Okay. So now Dalvin Cook goes at pick 8. Ian Much on the clock. So this is like the most standard draft you'll ever see. This is literally in order of underdog ADP. This is the first 8 picks in order of ADP on underdog. That's why I'm saying maybe we're going to have to get a little bit fancy. Maybe we're going to have to try something cute. Winter Lead says, love the content. Watch you all day at work. LOL. No, thank you, my friend. I know you've been a member of the vlog for a very long time. I definitely appreciate it. Derek, throwing in the towel for tonight. See you tomorrow night, my friend. LOLG says, Mason, in my opinion, Mahomes is the most talented player ever. Okay. To be completely honest, I think you are crazy. I always lean on the side of athletes today. If you're saying, oh, player X is the best ever, I would always lean on the side of athletes today because athletes today are the best athletes the world's ever seen. But respectively speaking, let me pull something up for you. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but I've done some digging. I've done some research, and I have found a Mr. Tom Brady that has won 243 regular season games, that has won 35 games in the playoffs, that if we're going to add together, let me get out my phone real quick and add together how many passing yards Brady has in both the NFL playoffs and the regular season. And obviously the wins speak for themselves. Tom Brady this season is going to pass 100,000. This is what I got for regular season as well as playoff passing yards. Tom Brady should pass 100,000 career passing yards. So to say Mahomes is the most talented player ever, I don't know. Dylan says, how would you draft in a 10-team PPR format, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex? You need to go through. You need to slide those running backs up, move the elite level tight ends up. Move running backs up, move the elite level tight ends up, and mainly just crash those wide receivers down your rankings. Mike Evans goes pick 22. I mean, if we get Andrews, this will be exciting. Not too many teams are going to have this combo. I still rank Nick Chubb over Javonte Williams, but the thing is, we're looking for a unique combo. There are going to be more teams that went Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews, Nick Chubb than Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews, Javonte Williams. I think this is going to be a team that not too many people have in this overall contest. This is a team with a lot of upside. Now we're definitely going to be looking for Lamar Jackson on the way back around at pick 48. LOLG says, hey, Mason, I meant pure talent, not career. He's 26. I don't think you get to 100,000 career passing yards if you're not one of the most talented, if not the most talented players. It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. But Sam says, Mason, do you collect football rookie cards? Sadly, I do not, my friend. I already lose too much money in fantasy football drafts to be losing money on football cards. I mean, guys, if y'all don't know, I live stream, like we've been live tonight. We live stream for 200 nights in a row every single night. Either real money fantasy football drafts or fantasy football question and answer live streams. If I started doing football cards as well, my girlfriend that should have left me years ago would 100% be out the door at that point. 100%. So now, after we see Javonte Williams, we got A.J. Brown, Nick Chubb, Keenan Allen, Kyle Pitts, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne at 32 is a little bit weird with the context of the Jacksonville situation. I have noticed that you'll get in some drafts where people won't necessarily care about the James Robinson news, and they will take Travis Etienne there in the middle of the 3rd round. They'll act like James Robinson's still going to miss the beginning portion of the season. And then some other drafts you'll get in, everybody in the room is just like, oh no, I'm not touching Travis Etienne at this price point. And then you'll get Travis Etienne in the late fourth. I feel like Etienne's one of those players that does have a very wide range of outcomes on where he's drafted. Like Michael Pittman's always going the middle of round 3. You're never seeing Michael Pittman Jr. anywhere but the middle of round 3. Travis Etienne, you can get in the middle of round 3, get at the very end of round 4. There's going to be a massive swing there. Steven says, is Derrick Henry a top 3 pick in a non-PPR format? 100%. 100%. Like if you're looking at a non-PPR league, you need to be sliding those wide receivers down because the optimal flex play in a non-PPR format, more times than not, is going to be a running back. So inherently, those running backs across the board are going to be pushed up, especially a Derrick Henry level player. I think you can make the argument that Derrick Henry is like the 102 or I don't want to say the 101, but Derrick Henry's up there at the 102 or 103 if you're playing in a non-PPR league. Okay. Now, Terry McLaurin goes pick 38. Courtland Sutton, 37. So Josh Allen fell all the way to pick 36 here. That's very interesting with Allen. Maybe that makes us a little less excited to grab a quarterback if that's how this league's going to value the position. But at the same time, we go Andrews, pick 24, unless we have some crazy values that we really like. I feel like we have to take Lamar Jackson at 48. We almost don't even have a choice, especially knowing that I'm not a massive fan of the wide receivers at the beginning of the 5th round. Like, it's very hard for me to take Brandon Cooks over Lamar Jackson. I can't do it. Hollywood Brown goes 39, so that team does start 4 wide receivers in a row in this draft. You have Breece Hall pick 40. Dog says Mason is 6'4", 280. I was 6'4", 280, but I actually went on a diet, so now I'm 6'4", about 260. But at the same time, I've been doing stretches every morning, so maybe I'm a little bit taller now. Maybe I'm pushing 6'5", 6'6". I don't know. But Allen Robinson off the board at pick 42. LOLG says, sorry, Mason, first year starting MVP, second year Super Bowl MVP. I got your point. I got your point, my man. I got your point. Okay, so Ezekiel Elliott goes a 43. Luke says, I started watching you, but I noticed you make excuses when you make a bad choice. You said you don't pick Sutton at all in one stream, and then in the next stream, you told someone you picked too much Courtland Sutton. This is the issue, and we have new viewers, and hey, don't pick up on jokes. If I say, oh, I've drafted too much Courtland Sutton, it's because 99.999% of everybody in the live stream knows that I've taken almost 0 Courtland Sutton and that I really don't like Courtland Sutton. So if you hear me say something like that, it's a joke, big fella. I'm not going to stop doing those. I do think they're pretty funny, but Jerry Jeudy off the board to pick 46. I don't even know what we freaking do here. What are we supposed to do? I don't know what to do, guys. Actually, no, we can't. We are stuck in a tough spot. We have a vote for Lamar and Cooks. We have a vote for Metcalf and Herbert. We have a vote for Lamar and Bateman. I'm not taking Bateman. I think I'm going to go with someone that nobody has recommended in the live chat. We're going to go Lamar and Akers. I actually would go Lamar and Herbert if it wasn't for the fact that we saw Josh Allen fall to pick 36. Seeing Allen fall to pick 36, that tells me that this league isn't going to value quarterbacks. So I think if we go with the bully quarterback strategy, even if we think it's going to be a unique build, we may just get stuck in a horrible spot later on. So it looks like this is going to be a 0 wide receiver start. Going with Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers at running back. Taking Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson at our quarterback and tight end spot. B-Haas says, why Rashad Bateman? I think Rashad Bateman, if you're looking at 1.3 yards per route run his rookie season, if you're going to be looking at the fact that this is a player playing in one of the lowest passing volume offenses in the NFL, he's not that appealing. I understand on Underdog you need to slide up these wide receivers. It's going to be hard to grab these guys later on. We'll figure it out. I'll find a solution. But real quick, if you are not drafting on Underdog Fantasy, make sure you fix your life. Go down there, click the link in the live chat, click the link in the description of this video. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Have some fun in some real money fantasy football drafts. When you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar to $100. You will get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with literally just a $10 deposit. Okay. Sorry, guys. I have to say that once a video for the random people that are new viewers that want to be able to draft with us in the live stream. But you have Herbert, 51, Mahomes, 52, Kyler Murray going 57. So I guess maybe these quarterbacks aren't falling as much as we initially thought they were going to. Okay, Mike Williams, you are going to get muted here. You're just going to get muted for a second. That is just annoying. Jacob says, what's a good target projection score in Underdog? I will say I think Underdog ADP is the best positional ADP that you're going to find across any fantasy football site, and it's not even going to be close. And the reason for this is there's simply been more real money drafts on Underdog Fantasy than any other draft site this offseason, and it hasn't been close. So I think that's why their ADP is going to be the best, but the projections, they're not good. Don't use the projections. Like, realistically speaking, if you're going to be making a selection, the last thing you need to be doing is looking at what Underdog has the player projected for. I don't think they put much work into him. I think that overall, I mean, the rookies like Garrett Wilson are projected to score like 70 points and crap like that. Don't use the projections, please. Okay, so we have Amari Cooper going pick 62, Jalen Hurts 63. We want wide receivers making them back around to us. Darnell Mooney off the board. If we get a Montgomery, I'm taking a Montgomery. I'll say that. I'll be on record. I know people got mad at us for not taking David Montgomery earlier at the 5-6 turn in another draft, but if Montgomery was going to fall to us here at pick 72, we would have taken him. Elijah Moore off the board, 67. Okay, a couple names I'm interested in. Lance in the 6th. God, y'all know how much I used to advocate for Trey Lance, especially in Dynasty. Like, from a Dynasty perspective, nobody has been higher on Trey Lance than I have. But now, see Lance go in the 6th round of a redraft format. Like, an entire round before Burrow, and this regularly happens as well. It's so tough. Because I want to draft Trey Lance. I want to be higher on Trey Lance than everybody else like I used to be. David says, why did Chris Carson retire? Okay, if you don't know, Chris Carson had a serious neck issue. 1 second. We're going to go with the hyper-fragile builds. We are only going to take 4 running backs in this draft. We're probably going to be done at running back here after we take Josh Jacobs in the 6th. If we have a crazy value falling to us, we will go ahead. We will take another running back. But we are probably completely done. But if, yeah, you didn't know, Chris Carson was dealing with a very nasty neck injury. I mean, if you go through and you look at Chris Carson's production over the past few years, Chris Carson had a total of 54 rushes in 2021 and 141 rushing attempts in 2020. Chris Carson over the past 2 years has a whopping about 800 total rushing yards. Like, Chris Carson's done. Chris Carson was a player that always dealt with injuries, and the neck injury ended up ruining his career. But you knew Chris Carson was retiring. I mean, they signed Rashad Penny to almost a $10 million contract. Then they drafted Kenneth Walker in the 2nd round. You don't do that and then bring back Chris Carson. Now, Allen Lazard goes off the board, pick 77, someone that I will never draft. Thank you for getting him off the board. Kadarius Toney goes 78. LOL Jesus, Mason, do you see Seattle as the worst NFL team? It's either going to be Seattle, Houston, or Atlanta. I think one of those teams will be the worst NFL team. Finn says, how do you rank Hawkinson's tight end value to Dalton Schultz? I mean, if you're looking at their ADP, usually you have TJ Hawkinson going about 20 to 30 picks behind Dalton Schultz. I think they should be a lot closer. I do prefer Hurts given the offense. I do prefer Schultz given the offense he's playing in, given the amount of volume that there should be to go around in Dallas. But to be realistic here, the gap shouldn't be this wide. Like, if I had to say who's the more talented tight end, Hawkinson's the better talent. Like, I think you should probably almost split the difference in half between these two guys. Okay. Tosh says, deposited $100 on Underdog and use your promo code. Still haven't gotten the draft guide. What should I do? Okay, if you checked your email and you still haven't gotten the draft guide, it will be from Underdog Fantasy that sends you the draft guide after you make that deposit with promo code FLOCK. And it will take about an hour or two after you sign up to go through the system. But if you waited that time and you still don't have it and you think something's wrong, please send me an email letting me know. I'll get that situation sorted out for you. I will get you that draft guide. You can find my email address in the description of the video. Har says, if the Texans win the Super Bowl this year, I'm going to be worth over $500,000. I placed a nice bet on them. Well, I will tell you one thing. However much you bet on them, you're going to be that much poorer this year. You're not going to be $500,000 richer. You're going to be, if you bet $100 on them, you're going to be $100 poorer. Think about how many Chick-fil-A sandwiches you could have bought with that $100. That is tough. Luke says, Mason, you need to watch the Hard Knocks episode. I'll watch the Hard Knocks episode probably after this live stream. We'll figure out how many drafts we're going to get after this one, but I'll watch one for y'all. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 85. Antonio Gibson goes off the board, 86. Okay, Mike Williams, I'm muting you for another 5 minutes. If you just keep on doing this, you're just going to be banned for good. Okay, Goddard goes 87. Very bad for us to see all these wide receivers flying off the board here in round 7. Like I said, if we have a running back value that we really like, we will go ahead and take them. But at this point, it's looking like we should have taken Adam Thielen and Drake London there at the 6-7 turn. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm assuming that Hard Knocks is on HBO Max, right? If I have HBO Max, am I going to be able to watch Hard Knocks? I don't think I've had HBO Max until this year. Like, I've only seen free episodes of Hard Knocks on YouTube, but you never even get to see the entire season. Okay, Edmonds goes 90. Good for us. Get these running backs off the board. I like the value of Edmonds. I like the value of Hunt here, but I just simply can't take them with our build. Dak Prescott goes 91. I think we have a couple interesting plays. Rashad Penny, 92. Great. Penny wasn't a player I was interested in the slightest. MVS off the board, 93. I was thinking we could potentially go with the back-to-back Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers there. I guess that's no longer going to be an option for us. Kareem Hunt, 94. Good for us. I like the Hunt value. We can't take advantage of it. We can't do anything about it. Now, this team on the clock, they have no quarterback. They have 2 running backs with CMC and Dobbins. At wide receiver, they have Tyreek. They go Brady. Okay, yeah, that was my plan. If Brady was going to fall to us, we were going to go Tom Brady and Russell Gage here at the 8-9 turn, but I guess we can no longer do it. We're just going to double tap the wide receiver position. We are just going to go ahead. We are going to take Sky Moore as well as Tyler Lockett. Do we want Lockett? Sit here and think. One second. Yeah, we want Tyler Lockett. So hopefully we have some of these rookie receivers breaking out and giving us elite level production. Probably not, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Figurine Champ says, does your drafting style change much as you get closer to the start of this season? I would say from August 9th to the start of the season, my drafting approach is not going to change that much. Like, I'm, of course, going to continue to monitor how players are moving up and down draft boards, training camp reports, and alter my personal rankings. But in terms of my draft philosophy, in terms of my draft strategy, no, not going to change much from the 9th to the start of the season. It has changed a ton as this season has progressed, however, because if you look at draft boards back a couple months ago, they looked completely different than they do now. So the pockets of value that you were actually getting at individual positions, like you weren't getting this solid of running back value here with Cam Akers at 49 or Josh Jacobs at 72 in the middle rounds. So there are small nuanced adjustments that we need to be making, especially if you're looking at the drafts that we were doing back in February. Oh dear God, there is a completely different game. Finn says, how awful is Drew Lock going to be? I can't even imagine. I can't imagine how bad Drew Lock will be. I'm assuming He'll be, realistically speaking, the worst quarterback in the NFL. I'm trying to think. Does Seattle have the worst starting quarterback in the NFL with Drew Lock or Geno Smith, whoever it may be? Realistically speaking, who is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL? I would say you probably put the Seattle guy there. Dean says Justin Fields. That's pretty funny, my man. Jake says he's better than Teddy Bridgewater. I got news for you, my man. Teddy Bridgewater's not a starting quarterback this upcoming season. Finn says Jacoby Brissett. I'm not projecting Brissett to start 17 games. I do think Watson starts at the end of the year. So I don't think Jacoby Brissett's a fair answer, if I'm going to be completely honest. I like the call, though. Joe says another draft. How about this? If we get 1,200 likes in the live stream, we will go ahead. We will fire up another draft after this one. So if you have not done so, go down there, drop a like in the live stream, subscribe to the channel if you want to come out. We do these live streams every single night. You should know that by now. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you drop that like so we get recommended to some new viewers. Dog says it's going to be 1 a.m. I know it's going to be 1 a.m. I know we've been live for over 3 hours now, but it is what it is. Guys, we're ramping up for the season. There's 30 days until the season starts. Now's the time to be drafting. Like I said, I enjoy nothing more than getting in these underdog drafts. Tolbert at 116. Fruit Punch says, Mason, do you draft 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks in your drafts? It's going to depend on who I get. I hate to give you that answer. I think you can only draft 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Obviously, that's the range you're looking at. At running back, you can only draft 4 or 5 or 6 guys, maybe 7 if you wait until I pick 80 to grab your first guy. But quarterback, like when I take Lamar here, if I say grab Justin Fields with this next pick, I'm done at 2. I'm only taking 2 quarterbacks. But Zach Ertz goes off the board 117. Who did that team have up until this point? They had Darren Waller as well. Joshua Palmer off the board 118. Julio Jones gone. Do we just double tap the wide receiver position here? I think so. It's not that exciting. We already have a rookie wide receiver upside with a combination of Sky Moore and Drake London. You know what? I was going to take Golladay and Devontae Parker because we don't have Mahomes, but I guess when we have Sky Moore, maybe we can go through and we can just use the argument, well, what happens if a Travis Kelce goes down? What happens if a Marquez Valdes-Scantling goes down? And all of a sudden you have Sky Moore and McCole Hardman becoming the 2 main cogs in a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's take them here. I don't necessarily think that we are in a position where we are jumping up and down to take them. Now, we 100% need, and I repeat, we need to take a wide receiver. Okay, so let's scroll this down after we take Golladay and McCole Hardman. Dylan says, would you change how you draft from redraft to best ball? Yes, with best ball, because you are not going to have access to the waiver wire, your roster construction is going to matter significantly more than it would in a redraft league. In a redraft league, it's simple. You just go through, you take the best players. You take the best players, whoever doesn't work out, whatever position you need, you churn the waiver wire for it. But given the fact that you're not having that access to the waiver wire in best ball, you do need to be changing your approach. So now we have Alexander Madison, Isaiah Spiller off the board here, 129, 130. Great value on those 2 guys. We just can't take them given the team that we had at the very beginning. So Jacoby Myers off the board, 131. Thomas says 1,200 likes for another $250 draft. I don't necessarily know if we are going to be able to do that, my friend. We already did a $250 draft tonight. If we are getting multiple $250 drafts going every night, like if we do 2 $250 drafts every night, that's $500 a night on drafts. So I think we cap it. I think we probably get into, if we get into a 6th draft here, it is going to be a $5 draft. That way y'all can also draft with us. But maybe tomorrow night, probably tomorrow night, we'll get into another 250. But I do need to space those out. I need to be responsible. Okay, so now we have Pat Frymuth, 134, Nyheim Hines, 133. There is a wide receiver that I would really like making it to us on the way back around. I think y'all probably know who it is. I don't necessarily want to say his name out loud. Jahan Dotson goes 136. I think we also could end up taking a tight end in this range. If we go with a tight end here, attached to Mark Andrews as well, we would only take 2 tight ends. So I think we're either going to be receiver or tight end here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Interesting to see Pickens go that early. That team name is Irish Steeler, though, so I'm assuming he's hyped on him. His team's newest wide receiver in George Pickens. Yeah, taking Pickens there 15 picks before ADP. So what we could do... No, I'm not going to be that interested in Tua. I was going to say we could end up taking Tua and Gesicki here on the turn and get that cheapish stack with the quarterback and tight end. What I don't get is, have y'all ever seen Tua Tagovailoa? And I repeat, have y'all ever seen Tua Tagovailoa go at his ADP or before his ADP? This is a conspiracy theory that I have against Underdog right now. Someone's fudging the numbers here with this Tua ADP. Maybe there's like a Tua burner account or something that's hopping into these Underdog drafts and taking them at the 101 to screw with me here. But I've never seen Tua go at or before his ADP. Chark goes 142. Kmet off the board. Do we just take Tua and Gesicki, get the stack in there in Miami, be done at quarterback, be done at tight end? I think that's the play. We're done at QB and we're done at tight end with this pick of Tua and Gesicki. Let's go through. Let's show off this team. I don't love this team. I think it's going to be unique. I think that not too many teams are going to be constructed in this exact same fashion, especially when we're going to be able to go ahead and to load up on just a crap ton of wide receiver depth later on for the best ball format. Of course, we're just going to be looking for receiver after wide receiver after receiver after receiver. We're going to get 10 wide receivers on this team. We're probably done at running back with a combination of Taylor, Javonte, Akers, and Jacobs, unless we have a crazy value making it to us. We have the elite tight end combo with Andrews and Gesicki. We have the elite quarterback combo with Lamar and Tua. Wide receiver, we're sitting with 5 guys right now. Not that exciting. Not that exciting here. Okay. Let's scroll this down real quick. Figure out. Hopefully, we just end up getting the wide receiver value that we want on the way back around. We can hope for. Now, Romeo Dubs off the clock. Will Fuller gone as well. Danny says, how do I get in on the drafts? Okay, so step A, make sure you have an account set up with Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the live chat. Deposit $10. They'll match $10. You'll have $20 in your account, and you'll get our rankings, and you'll get our 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide when you do that. But I'm assuming you already have. So step B is when we get into these tournament drafts like this puppy contest, which we'll be doing for the next couple days, you will go to the public lobby and enter the puppy at the same time that I do. Now, there's an outside chance that you don't make it in the same draft room as I do. So if you are worried about that happening, then what I would recommend is just waiting for a few days. When this puppy contest closed, I will then be creating private drafts and sending out those private draft links in the live chat. Now, the majority of people like to draft with us on these tournaments. I really enjoy these tournament drafts as well. So you can do that with us tonight, or maybe you can wait until tomorrow or the next day, but make sure you set up your account today because it will take a little bit of time for Underdog Fantasy to verify your identity. And set up your account today. Just make sure, come back to a live stream. And then if we do that private draft, the link will be sent out. Now, let's see what we're going to get on the way back around here. assuming Jameson Williams off the board, 154. This has been a player that's been falling a crap ton that I've been taking the advantage of the ADP dip with him. So it sucks that he goes here, and it also sucks that it looks like the best available players at the positions are going to be tight end and quarterback. Two spots where we really can't go with either one of those guys. Now, if Watson were to fall into us at a ridiculous price, well, I probably would have taken him, but that clearly doesn't happen. So at this point, we're probably going to end up having to reach on these wide receivers down here. I love the tight end value that you would possibly get, but we can't take him. We can't take him. We already have Andrews. We took Andrews at pick 24. Daniel Jones goes. Van Jefferson, 165. Van Jefferson would have been one of the wide receivers I would have decided to take. Gerald Everett, 166. Okay, Paris Campbell off the board. Paris Campbell was the one wide receiver I didn't want anyway, so I'm actually happy to see that. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take the combination of Wan'Dale Robinson, a rookie that I believe has a lot of upside, and we're going to take Jamison Crowder. I know most people are expecting Isaiah McKenzie to be the starting slot wide receiver here in Buffalo, but at the same time, I'm going to be looking at the situation saying, well, Jamison Crowder is getting a better contract. Jamison Crowder has been established on multiple NFL teams where he's been able to have a nice role. So I say, let's just take the cheaper one. I think it's still very possible that Jamison Crowder is going to come through and he is going to be the guy sliding into the Cole Beasley role this upcoming season. And if that does happen, hell, it's a very good pick here. Okay, well, let's go through. Let's scroll this down. And after we take Crowder, we have a couple other wide receivers off the board. We have some of those very strong tight end values like Tyler Higbee at 175 going here in the 15th. Dean says, what happens if Odell Beckham Jr. signs? Well, from a casual redraft perspective, I don't think it would necessarily matter too much because Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be missing probably until week 6, week 7, week 8. Like Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be missing the majority of the season. Even when he does come back, we don't know exactly how effective he's going to be. He would potentially have upside in these tournament style contests where you need to be worrying about week 15, week 16, week 17. So I would say in these deep best ball contests, it's probably worth drafting Odell Beckham Jr. in the 18th round. But in your casual fantasy football league, you don't need to worry about it at all. Steve says, what's up? I was the 101 in the $250 draft. I got boxed out of both quarterbacks, and I wanted the middle rounds and preferred Tua over Fields for a couple reasons. Had a ridiculous open. Yeah, Steve, you got the nastiest team I'd ever seen through the first 6 rounds. Aaron Jones, 24. Ezekiel Elliott, 49. Like, I think you got Mike Evans in the 3rd. That was just crazy. Joe asking how to join the next draft. Rewind 3 minutes and you'll hear it. Long story short, click the link in the live chat. Use promo code FLOG. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Okay. Now we have Gus Edwards going 181 here. Good for us that we get these tight ends off the board here at the end of the 15th round. And speaking on us maybe not slamming these wide receivers late all the way to 10 wide receivers on this team. If the wide receivers here are just completely gross, maybe we end up taking a running back for our 5th RB. We're definitely done at quarterback. We're definitely done at tight end. I don't think we can take a quarterback tight end no matter what. So now we go Zamir White, 183. Curtis Samuel, 184. Yeah, so these wide receivers are continuing to go off board. So it looks like we may end up grabbing a running back here. Sammy Watkins, 187. This is not good, guys. This is not good. This is no bueno. Oh. Goff, 188. And these teams right before us, they both have 3 tight ends. So Hayden Hurst is literally impossible to go to them. And if this team drafting at 191 is paying attention, they know for a damn fact that I can't go through and I can't take another tight end when I have Andrews and Gesicki. So they're not taking Hurst. If they wanted him, they would get him at pick 194. They'd probably go running back. We took Tua. Let's go through. Let's get a correlated pick with it. We'll get our correlated pick here with Devin Duvernay and Lamar Jackson. This team's bad, guys. No other way I can cut it. We had a couple bad drafts on the live stream tonight. We had a very good $5 draft, 3 bad $5 drafts, but more importantly, the main event, the $250 draft, I think we did quite well in. I'm very happy with how that turned out. But I think this is probably where we end the live stream. We did 5 drafts tonight. So, of course, thank you all so much for sticking with us through 5 drafts. I genuinely appreciate all of y'all. I really hope you have a great night. I really hope we get to see you with the live stream tomorrow night. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to get in our next draft. Go to the link in the description. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. And if you want to join a free fantasy football group chat, we have one. You don't need a credit card. You don't need an email address. You don't need anything. All you need to do is click the link, choose the nickname. You're in our fantasy football group chat. You can join if you want. You don't have to join if you don't want. It's up to you. If you want to be in a group chat, here you go. But I appreciate y'all. You can find that link in the live chat. Hope to see you tomorrow. And yeah, have a great night.